Camagu nodange. Nodange Dumile. Kuthiwa amagqeba uyasabela uyabizwa. Siyakhahlela. Sithi bayethe. Settings, let me see.
kakhulu kubaluleke amazinyo uyise amadoda umfika nje abazokhumbula kade ujwangile kubaluleke zaziye izithwenza nezithwa kumele zilizwe kubaluleke waziye liselo lomjinja nowele lomdibaniso yalonto ndisithi xa kunamkase yeye kasatya amadoda babumdiwa kwazimantulo kudinga kani ntsikizi yazino kwizulu liyasako alala banyatheli balilizwe alala South Africa alala mjotsotho zalini babelingajiki madoda ayawumakama phela mkaleni akala balini akala bafosi akala baba madoda bemithethe yalonto zizithika kunamhlanje abafasa babela lide longancitshisiswe yalonto lizithika wanomo siyakhula siyakhuzela kamasapoto
siyacamakusha siyanqula siyathandaza sithi ke makudede ubumnyama kuvela ukukhanya kudede ubuntsu kuvela ubumweka sithi kube chosi kube hele kube camagu uqamata sikhangele kujambase ke lona ngulisa ngumsuthu ngucanzi ngusanzanza isanzanza esanzonza kwavela abantu nguhlathela ingothiwa selelivutha ngoba lona lihlathi elikhulu lothiwa zimvene kuphela kuba imvene ngabanini behlathi ndikhahlela kokhokho bokhokho amanqosini ociwoshe othithiba omsuthu ke kuthiwa ngombokodo emnyama kathikoloshe eqengqeleka phezu komlambo igqili ndiyacamakusha kokhokho bokhokho bam ke amagcina oncancashe oxhamela onokwindla ndibuye ngicamakushe ke kokhokho bam amatshawe otshiwo kamdange otogu ongconde uzikhomo osigodla nasemasendela singalala endleleni yazini madoda kunyembelekile siyakhahlela xa sitsho ke siyakhonza siyanqula siyathandaza kokhokho bam amampehlo cabasho onkomo zibomvu into zakulo libisi zakaludikana komo zikayibeka wakulokani mbiko amancam kamlawo ngokhokho bam abo ke makhulu wam lo mampehle kuthiwa ngusigcawu amaziyo bathi ngusinawunawu siyabulisa xa sitsho ke siyabulisa siyakhonza siyazithoba sithi ngenani ekhaya you know there's a song I like ithi nithuleleni izinto zisonakala nje nithuleleni izinto zisonakala why do you keep quiet things are going to hell things are going to the S word ngumamam ke umanzothi unyimanyelezi umaphanga ungqala ungqake nxa sinuxuxa uxhama uwele liyobe phambili impuzi kasemva kupya nethunga kwekwasemanzothweni hoyini bafazi bentsikizi letsholo nayiphazama nithabatha isidoda ngoma lehlatyelo isifazi kutsiba nkulu kayuthu nguntaba kahili ngusiqa somile somelezwa zintaba kunabele emntwini ngumagatyana nguwebebe kuthiwa liyobe phambili imfuzi kasemva kumtya nethunga tobindini yasemanzothweni yingqungqumbane madoda leyo iponeroti kangesheleni umnta kwamnyama ongevasepha intombi enzalayo ewe izalwa ke yona nguzilindile umbhobho endlovu umdlovu udla ekhaya ezalwa yena phofu ngugqwala inhloko ndingusandile ke mna ke nto kakhunku ukhunku kasigova usigova kagoqoza ugoqoza isisukuzuzu kathukani ziphuma thina phantsi komnombo kamalukazi kazaba umfene mazabuyo zabelwa abafokazi ewe singamamfene ke singocanze xa sitsho ke I welcome all of you you know I like to play these songs first so that I can get my thoughts in order, but I don't know today my thoughts are not in order. There's a lot happening, but I always say the first step to any problem, honestly, you know, the first step to any problem is the knowledge of self. Everything else follows after that in terms of hierarchy. Qongya tiqaiqasab Carl Qongya Greetings to you as well. Greetings to everyone. Tabetsi, Tikwet way. Greetings all of you, my people. In Kram, we would say Kabe. In Koi, we would say in Ngu, we would say Konkia. In Tembu dialect, we would say Khotoba. In isiXhosa, we say in isiZulu samaqwabe sithi bayethe. One more offering. A nice trance song. You know, this kind of songs, they elevate your awareness, your consciousness, so that you don't come and speak amaqambu apho uzoqamza. You speak things that make sense because your consciousness is elevated. You know, this is music that ingoma zongxengxezo, ingoma zokuthandaza. This is prayer. This kind of music is also prayer. You can bring the questions now. You can bring the questions. Those of you who have questions, bring them through. Kamago, that is the end of our concert. And now we begin with the work. If you guys have questions, feel free to share your questions. I will try and respond as swiftly as I can. I'll try and respond as swiftly as I can. Let me position this properly. Before I touch on the question, I want to tell you guys something, that the languages of South Africa almost entirely had cliques. Almost entirely. I've got a gentleman who speaks the Xitsonga languages, one of the Xitsonga languages, because Xitsonga is a dialect continuum. So there's many different dialects of Xitsonga or languages within Xitsonga. You've got Xitswa, you've got Xinkuna, Xihlanganu, Xironga. So he speaks, I think, more on the Xironga side. So I've been having some engagement with this gentleman. And one thing he has realized is that what you would assume is Xitsonga, and you would assume has nothing to do with cliques, interestingly, clearly had cliques in the past, because all the words that we have in clique form exist exactly as they are in Xitsonga, minus the clique form. So this is the same thing we observe in Sepedi as well. I'll give you an example. Words, for example, a word that means to cut. Cow. Cow or cow. You know, it would mean to cut something. The same word exists in a click form, cow. In fact, I had an engagement with a Zizi brother, a Zizi brother recently, and we were talking about this. He openly said, he thinks for every so-called non-click form of a word, there's always a click counterpart. And this is what I always try and address in what I call linguistics, phonetics, and phonology. There's a phenomenon called lenition. And lenition is an umbrella term for many different processes. Spirantization, elision, metathesis. All these are different forms of lenition, right? No, not in Nzimakulu. Oh, Nzimakulu, by the way, after that live, he followed me on with a different account. He went and followed me. I know that brother, but his information is false, unfortunately. So I can't be nice about it. His information is definitely false. That's just what it is. But yeah. So we've come to a point where even those who disagree with our queer version of history, we've come to a point where we understand that linguistically, it is undeniable that almost all the languages that are spoken in South Africa today clearly had more clicks in the past. This absolutely destroys the concept of borrowed clicks, by the way. Clicks are not borrowed. Language is not borrowed. Especially when it can be broken down into its elements, it's a very clear sign that it's not borrowed. Also, you don't borrow words that are traceable to the very first of your ancestors. You understand? Like at the very earliest ancestry that we can trace, we can still see these clicks manifesting, and we see them dying over time for when our people mix with other groups, like the Ngoni of Uzwangendaba. When they went to Tanzania and to Malawi and to Zambia, the cliques start dying there. You understand? Fortunately for the Amandwandwe, also for Amantungwa, who went with who's this? Umziligas. Fortunately for them, where they went, there were already people who spoke in cliques. The Chwa of Zimbabwe, the Chwa, the Tsilikwa, the Kwa, Shwakwe of Zimbabwe. So fortunately for Amandebele in Zim, there was no threat to the language because they literally lived with your Chwa who already speak, the language. I mean, the name Umtwagazi, a Chwa gentleman from Zimbabwe was actually explaining how the name came about. So the name Umtwagazi literally was referring to their queens, because when Amandebele came through to integrate with the Chwa, Amandebele, the Chwa were like, you know what, deal with the women. And that's where the whole thing of Batwagas. But they tell the story themselves. I don't need to tell it. You can just look for some of the videos where our Chwa brothers are talking about this. Sour sop, very good. Can never go wrong. So, that's what that is. So the cliques, I just wanted to just put that out there. The cliques are very old, at the very origin of Southern African speech. Even languages that seemingly don't have any cliques clearly have the exact same words that come from cliques. Chivenda, we see the same thing. Xitsonga, we see the same thing. Sepedi, we see the same thing. In fact, Sesotho, fortunately, preserves the original language, part of the original language known as Sikoni. Because you see, your Sotho, your Tswana, your Pedi, they spoke an older dialect, Sikoni, which had cliques. In fact, I will go as far as saying these so-called Guni languages and all that clearly had more cliques in the past. Dare I say 5 cliques. There's uniformity that you observe when you study the language, but you have to study it very deeply. There's a click, the palatal click. You see the sound you make when you eat something. Kaunambita or kaunandipa into. That is the palatal click. There are words that clearly come from the palatal click, and you see these words by deviating a lot between different dialects. So I'll give you the word Abba. The word Abba for red. One group will say that word is Abba. The other one will say that word is Abba. The other one will say that word is Gaba. Basut will say that word is Abba. It's clear that those were not the original pronunciations because they deviate so much, but it's one word. It's Abba. It's red. The word for something that's dark, Nu, the palatal click. Amaxhosa lost that. So Amaxhosa retain the dental form, Nu, for something that's dark. If you go to your Omani or the Nu, you see they have the Nu part. So clearly there's evidence, that the Nu palatal click was once there. You see this in words like Amaxhosa will talk about a line. They will say umqa. And then they'll also at the same time a single file line of something. They will call it umqa. You get it? It's umqa and umqa. If you take it back, you will realize these two sounds converge in the palatal form. Umqa. AmaZulu also have the same thing. Umunqa. Unodange edumile umpikwana. They are called umqandwendwe. Umqa, it's a line, a single file line. Ndwedwe, it refers to the crescent moon, half circle, the semicircle that soldiers form when they are being addressed by the king. See, when the king is talking, you don't surround the king, you form a semicircle. That formation is known as ndwedwe. Umqandwedwe is a formation. So that umqa, in isiXhosa we call it umqa and umqa at the same time. Yabo. It's clear that it comes from an older click. So you start to see no patterns like that. You realize, oh damn, the same umqa and umqa manifest in another form. Umda. Umda is a line, a border, something that you can't cross, a boundary. That umda comes from umqa, which is the same as umqa, which ultimately, you understand? So that is the case for the fourth click, which clearly was lost. In fact, let me take it further. You see, when you talk about a sweetheart, someone who's in your heart, we call them isangco. We say isangco sam, but that ngco is actually the heart. The word ngco means heart. You see, in Kora Kobab, when you want to say, I'm happy, or my happiness, you will say, my happiness, or is the root that gives us happiness, abundance of joy. And it's also when you laugh a lot, city, what is kacha? Or echa is the same one you find as techa or hleka. It means abundance of joy because joy is understood as the idea of good feeling. A means good. I means good. And it can be contracted as ka or e. In fact, in Gwinkia, we take it even further. We use the non-click form day and toi and tai to mean good. Be with me, bear with me. When we refer to Kamata, Ngele Makanda, in the 1800s, he told the Ndlambe people to shout to go kwa Gombo or Kugombo, the Cove Rock, the same name that is used now for Islander. There's a rock there. He told the people to go there, stand on one leg and shout Tai, Tai, in reference to Kamata or Tikwab. One leg, Tikwab, the one-legged one. And then he asked them to shout Tai. Tai means good one. It means mhlekazi because Tai is a softened form of I. Tai is a softened form of Kai. And then also Tei is the same one. That's why you have Omakulu Teyase. Kwakos. You watch Ikialalama World, you'll hear them talk about Omakulu Teyase. That Teya means good. So it's the exact same way that you have Echa, which then means Techa, which then means Sheka, which then means Cheka or Seka or Teka. All over Africa, we have it in the click form. Now, Echa, is the heart. So, Echa, abundance of joy or good feelings. The heart. So, Echa, is happiness. However, if you go to Kwinkia, the same word will mean your lover, a sweetheart. Wata. Me and my lover speak clearly. That's how do you say? Sango wata. Or sango wata. Me and my lover talk very clearly. Sa ngo. That sa is a base of the pronoun. It's what we use to create the pronoun CT. CT. Sa, it's us. O is the heart. O is the heart. So sang me and my lover, or isango sam. Kwa is to talk most, yabo. Huri kwa. Ibasutu will say that kitori kwa. I will just say one word or two words. Yabo. Sango kwa ga. It means clear. Atamakosa ayicacica. Icacica. You see in Kwinkia, ukucaca means to be sharp. When something is sharp, they say it's sharp. And then is clear. So it's sharp and it's clear. That's why in Ngobo, there's a place known as Kucaca, because there are sharp stones in that place. There are sharp stones. Kucaca. The same caca gets softened to chacha. That chacha is the same one we use for the name Chachabe, the sharp one. Ubutsolo bentonga. Ubutsolo bentonga. So sango wa ga. Nesango sam siqhwaba ga, or we talk clearly. Kwa or kwaba or kwaba or kwa means to talk. That's why in the course, if you talk a lot, we say awuya dwaba ngoku. Awuya dwaba. It's kwaba. Hey, Futek man, why is there some weird account here? Let me just block this thing quickly. Hey. There's always a demon somewhere. Funa intelezi le ibabayo emzimbeni, uhloka intelezi usichapha uzichamele mntanami. Back to the topic. The point I was making is the name of the heart. In Kora and in Kwinkia is what we say isango. That ngo, if you look at all the other words for the heart, it's always the palatal click. So that palatal click gets softened either to the dental or alveodental, your and your. So it's clear there was a fourth click. Yeah, it's clear. Now, my argument for the fifth click now is in words that tend to be bilabial in nature. So the bilabial words are the ones that use two lips. So we look at words in where you enunciate them, where you pronounce them. I'll give you an example. The word imbube, bube, or pubes is pronounced with both lips. You can't hold one lip and then pronounce it. You won't be able. Other words like imvubu, words like imbeba, the mouse, or even impuku, the little mouse. Impukane, the house fly. Impunzi, iputi, the little antelopes, the duikers, or impete. These words, you tend to need both lips, to pronounce them. Hence, we call them bilabial consonants. A lot of these bilabial consonants, Mukarang, please blog. Please blog. Whichever account is doing weird stuff, please blog. What the hell? If you hear my brother, please blog for us. Ne? I don't want to lose track of thought. I don't want to lose track of my thoughts. So, these words that tend to have your bilabial clicks, a lot of the times, mpunguche for the jackal, a lot of the times, these words tend to come from the bilabial click itself. Let me give you an example. In isiZulu or even Hlubi and other dialects, when they talk about udondolo, a long stick, they use the version ubhoko. Ubhoko. That's the version they use. Instead of udondolo, they tend to use ubhoko. Udondolo is still used, but ubhoko is preferred. If you go to Kungia, that same bhoko is oko or mhoken or oko. Sometimes it's also bogo. It's also bogo sometimes. So it could be oko or mhoken or bogo. Another word for the mouse, for example, impuku. If you go to Kungia, particularly Tram, you find that same word, uhu. Uhu. Uhu literally means small, small. Means small. Hu tends to mean the face, something that's tiny appearing, something that looks tiny. That is a little mouse. Tiny little things. A housefly. Uku, a baby, a small baby. We call them imveku. So all these words, mveku, mpuku, mbeba, mvubu, even mvubu is ubu. Mpunguche or pukupye, it's ukash or ubush. So all these words that have bilabial consonants, whether it's MV, MB, MP, or PH, somehow in their click form, it's always the bilabial click. So it's too consistent to be a mistake. Clearly, those words were originally in the bilabial click. They were in the bilabial click. And that's what I'm talking about. So that is a case to say, perhaps all 5 clicks were to be found in what they call South African languages. Perhaps all 5 clicks were to be found and somehow were lost. Somehow these clicks were lost. And that is something then we have to look at, Sometimes you also have to study how people pronounce words. And that may confuse you. I want to look at the word dube, for example. Dube, in Kora, it's dobe. Dobe. It's dobe in Kora. The B simply signifies a noun class, a masculine noun class. Sometimes it becomes dos. Dos. You see, we have dosini, a clan amongst Amampondo and Amampondo Mise. Dosini. It's Dausiana amongst the Kora. Dausiana, the zebra people. Literally. Same name. Dosen or Dausiana or Dosen Kais. The people of the zebra. It's a Kora clan. Dobe. Dobe, zebra. Dos, zebra. Interesting because you still have one of the chiefs, Udosi. Another step back in the word dube. If you go a step back, you could remove the suffix or the last consonant B and as dobe and dos. You're left with do. Do means it really means to walk. It means to leave footprints where you walk. That's what it means. Dau means to leave footprint where you walk. If you look at another word for dau, it also means a path. There's a place in Cape Town known as Selores Pass. Its old name is Khandau. Khandau, which means the path of the eland. Khan is the eland, remember? And then Dau is a path. So Dau is the root word for Daub, which is Idube, and Daus, which is Idosi. That's where your clans like Dube and Dosini come from. That's where they come from. Let's add another layer to this. You see the lion? It's called Indau. The lion is called Indau. That's why you've got people known as Vandau. It doesn't mean a place. Abendau. No, it means... Let me show you the link between the name of the lion and the name of the zebra. I told you zebra comes from Dau, which means to leave a path. And that's how you get Daub and Daus, Dube and Dosi. You can even take it further. The name of the zebra is Daua. In isiXhosa, a zebra is called Idube, Idaua, Iqwarha, Iqwarhasha. Because there were different types of zebras. Remember, there were different types of zebras. You had different mountain zebra, field zebra, different types. These days we seem to have only one, but you had all those different names. So you had Dauba, Idube, you had Daus, Idosi. Turn on, yes. All right. And this is where now the name of the lion comes in. The name of the lion comes in. Where does it come in? Well, we have a word. Oh, I want you to pay attention, guys. I need you guys to pay attention. The name Qau means to follow something. The name Qau means to follow something, right? In fact, if you know about the story of Unongqawuse, that's the word Qau is used there as well. Ukungqawa, in isiXhosa, we even use the word ukungqawa. Let's say you've lost your sheep. When you look for those sheep, the word we use there is the word ukungqawa. So you can go and ask a group of people, like a search party. A search party, we can call them abangqawisi. You are doing what? You are pursuing. Remember, I told you a zebra does what? It leaves footsteps behind. A lion does what? It follows those footsteps. You get it, Dube. So that's how the name Dau for the zebra and Dau for the lion come in. Then for the zebra, we put suffixes Daube and Dausi. Idube and Dosi. For the lion, it's Dau, Dau, and Qau. 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 Perhaps let me dwell a bit more on the lion, because seeing that it's such a symbolic animal for us, let me dwell a bit more. When you search for something, we are in Ngqawa. When you go hunting alone, we in Ngqawa. We call you Ngqawa. We call you Ngqawa. Because you're a great hunter. To hunt is to pursue something, to follow it so that it doesn't see you. That's why we use the word Qau. Now here's the thing. The lion is known by many names. The name Qau, which gives you Dau, right? It's no surprise that Bataung Bamuletsane are so-called San, so-called Bushman. The Bataung themselves are lost. They are busy telling you, no, I'm Mesopotamian. I'm a Mesopotamian. No, you're not Mesopotamian. You're not. Now, another name for the zebra is P in Kunkia. It's P. The same P that you find in the Limpopo region as Pitsi or mbizi. It's P in Kunkia. That's what we use for the zebra. P. The same word known as mbizi and piti. It's the same way that iri or ira for the hyena and the jackal becomes piri. It's iri or ikili. It then becomes piri in a non-click form. Yay! Hey. Let's go back to the line. So we'll call it ibubesi. But in my opinion, ibubesi specifically referred to the male, to the bull lion. A big maned lion. Not just any. That's my opinion. My opinion is that Bubesi was specifically the big maned lion. Because if you go to Kwinkia, you look for the name Bubesi. It's Buburu. It means the hair of the lion. Bubesi, the one with the hair. Let me help you quickly. You see that C at the end tends to be used when you are associating something with another thing. Let me give you this one. The one who does this or the one who has this. Look at this. Ukunuka. When you go to the Sangoma, which is actually Sakomab, the magic healer. Or Sakomab, the magic healer who uses the drum. But that's for another day. When you go to the Sangoma, they can do something there known as ukunuka, to smell out. See, back in the day, there were many different types of abangoma. There were those who used to hold a stick and they would hit the ground. Or the people would hit the ground assisting the healer to smell out the wrongdoer. This is known as ukubhula, to thrash. When you are thrashing something, you are bhula. So we had those ones about bhula. We had those ones who worked with rain. Those of the rain, that's how the Kham called them. You see, the ones who work with rain, hey, they do something very important because they work particularly with the royals. But the ones who smell out, ukufemba, yeah, ukubhula, ukunuka. That's the word we use, banuk. And then they will point to that person. They used to literally do it back in the day, like, and then they will point. That's why we call them isanusi. That sa is to relate the person to the action. That nu comes from the form gunuk, and that si at the end is in the form of ukwenzisa, the causative form, sanusi. Now think about bubes. Bube. In Kwinkia, it's bubu or buburu to mean the hair. Now think about a lion that has a big hair. It's usually the senior lion, right? So the name Bube is in reference to the hair of the lion. Bube. Uimbube. Bube. Uimbube. So I believe Imbube was particularly the male lion, not just any. Let's go to another name of the lion. Sibanda or Chibanda or Sibata. You find Sibanda particularly amongst the Kalanga. They tend to use the same name Sibanda. You see now if you go to Kunkia, Ba or Bai. It's a word that means to chase. The word Ba or Bai, to chase. Once again in Kunkia we add the suffix ta or da to mean to do towards something else. It relates to the word gudala, to do, literally, or hudira. That's why we have words like tanda, which are kunkia, by the way. The word tanda is kunkia. Eda, kunkia. Neda, kunkia. Baita, to chase, kunkia, or baita, to chase, kunkia. Now that sibanda is just to change the verb kubata, to chase, into a noun, the chaser. I'm not sure if you're noticing. Oh, the one who pursues the track. Ilandela umkhondo. It pursues the track. Oh, the pursuer. Ndau. Bubesi, the big maned lion. Sibanda, the chaser. The chaser. Now, let's take it a step further. In Kunkia, once again, and you'll ask, why are you referencing Kunkia? Well, I'm telling you, the ancestral language of so-called South African Bantu is Kunkia. I'm telling you that. Now, the onus probandi is on me to prove it. And I've been proving it. I think I've got at least 100 videos now on the subject. And no one has come to say, no, you're lying. So, Kunkia is what you call the ancestral language of this country. Now, let's go a step further. We did Sibanda. We did Sibanda. Sorry, I'm trying to accept. I'm not sure if you've been accepted. Okay, yeah. So we did Sibanda. We did Bubesi. We did Tau, which we know is Sibanda comes from Pai, to chase. Tau comes from Kau, to pursue, to hunt something, which gives you Ndau and Tau. We did Dau for the zebra, and which gives you Dube and Dosi, right? Now, I want to look at Ngonyama. Firstly, let's look at Ngala. You see, the Watsonga, they call the lion Ngala. I was talking to my brother here, Matebula. And I'm like, you see, in Kunkia, sometimes these words just mean a wild cat. That's all. It simply means a wild cat. Then, Kunkia, you find Allah, for a wild cat, which basically makes sense why the same word is used for the lion by the Watsonga, Ngala. The Washona use Sibanda or Chibanda or Simba or Shumba, which is in reference to the strength of the lion. We know that. That's why some people, when they pray, they'll be like, Jehovah, unema Simba. It's not a Masimba, it's Masimba, the power. Now you have Ngonyama, and this one is absolutely important to decipher. I'll give you two. You've got a word, nyama. To start with, nyama just means wild animal. Nyama simply means wild animal. That's why in Kunkia, for example, a wild animal that has a white belly and a black body, it's called Ngu Ama. Ngu Ama. Ngu is black. Ama can mean the belly or the wild animal itself. AmaXhosa say Nkukama. You know what Nkukama is? It's Kama or Kam, the oryx gazelle. Kama or Kam, the oryx gazelle. Nkukama. That's why there in Eastern Cape we have a place called Ngama Kwe. Ngama, the oryx gazelle. Kwe, stone. Ngama Kwe, the stone where the oryx gazelles come. Anyway, so that Kama or Kama or Kama or Kama manifests in a multiple of these antelopes. Some of them called Kama, Bamakama, some of them called Kama. It manifests as well for the lion. One of the names of the lion is Kama. Kama. Or Ayama. The lion. That's one, right? Hold it there. Another one, especially when the lion is big and a male, it's called Kama or Kama. Remember I told you Kama and Kama also becomes Kama or Kama. So Kama is the same as Kayama. Kama. The big lion with the great mane, big hair. The big bull. Kama or Kama. It is literally Ngonyama. Haibo. This is Ngonyama. That is what it is. Kama or Kama. The big maned lion, the big bull lion. Now, let's take it a step further. The other name of a lion an onomatopoeic name of the lion is the name Cham or Cham or Cham. See, there in Eastern Cape, there's a place called Gamcha. There's a place called Gamcha there. In fact, there's a couple of places called Gamcha. All the way to the Western Cape, by the way, people think, oh no, Xhosa people from Eastern Cape. No, Xhosa people are from the Western Cape, the Cape, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, and Northern Cape. There in the Western Cape, after Beaufort West, there's a place called Liugamka. Some of the people who lived there are your Habana and your Xhosa of the Gwali Xhosas. Gwali is Gore, by the way. It's a Kora word, Gore. It's an instrument, but also it's a tree. And I presume it's a tree that was used to make the instrument. Anyway, there's a place, Liugamka. That Gamka there is the same as the Gamcha that we use in other places. If you go around Kagriwa, Ngushngaya, those areas there, there's another place called Chamka. That Chamka, that Gamka, it all comes back to Cham, the lion. Now, clearly this word is also onomatopoeic, because if you think about the roar of the lion, it's Cham. So that's another name, the Cham, the Cham, Chama. I rest that one. To add on top of that one, if you go to Gunkia, once again, there's a name for the cat, Nwa or Nwab. Nwab. This Nwab is the one that manifests in the lineage of Amazizi. Amazizi have an ancestor called Nwab. I always like to use this to poke the Amazizi, with all their stories of Embo and Egypt. I'm like, why do you have an ancestor called Nwabe? Nwab is a wild cat. Another one is Nwe. Wild cat. That's why in Eastern Cape we have a place called Nwena. Kasisutu bayibitsa Kwabi. Kasisutu. So that same Kwabi, Nwabe, comes from the root Nwa. It's the root Nwa. Yabo. Now, what you have is Cham for the lion and Nwab. Nwab for what? For the wildcat. So Cham Nwab really is the roaring wildcat, a monster of the I use it for a monster, a ravenous animal. Cham Nwab. It's Cham Nwab, Cham, lion, Nwab, cat. So the elders would use these names many of the times on different animals, honestly. Like, they were not limited to one animal. They would use it on different animals where they see fit, because the names have meaning. The meaning is not dependent on the animals that they name. They are the ones who name the animals. The animals don't name themselves. So you will see some of the names, different communities will use them, let's say for the serval cat, for this, for that. But you must understand the meaning. Why a lion is called Sibanda? Because Bai and Ta means to chase something, hence Sibata or Isband. Imbube or Ibube is from Buburu, which means the hair of the lion, big hair of the lion. Gonyama, Kochama, Cham or Cham or Chamcha or Chamka, from the word Cham, to roar. That is the lion. And it's absolutely very symbolic. Absolutely very symbolic. Let me touch a little bit on Itongo. People talk about Itongo. Let me touch on what the ancestral or Kunkia version of things sees or says about these things. When you go on a hunt, I'm telling you now, right now, this is not made up, this is real. If you kill an eland, you don't take the chest of the eland and give it to the chief or to the king. Do you know that all your cows will be confiscated back in the day? Anything that results on your cows being confiscated, that is already a serious crime, because cows, we hold them to a high degree. But also, there are wild animals that we hold to a high degree. The eland being one of them, the buffalo being one of them, the rhino being one of them, the elephant. You know, when our ancestors killed an elephant, they used to apologize for killing that elephant. The moment that elephant dies, they go there to eat and ask for forgiveness. That it was a mistake. We didn't mean to kill you. I have it on record. It's not. I'm not making it up. And then they would take the trunk of the elephant and bury it. Bury it. Bury the trunk because it's to respect the sacredness of this beast. So if you went hunting, something like an eland, impofu or khan, and you don't take the chest, and I will tell you what the relevance of this chest is. Because the chest is the seat of the soul, according to our forefathers. We call it ingum. Some people say nguma. Ngum. Today they like to say ugeme. I grew up with the word ingum. I grew up with that word ngum. What is ngum? Ngum goes back to the word for itongo. It goes back to the word for the soul, the breath. If you go to Kunkia, if you go to Jukwansi, you still find this word. For example, when you are sleeping, we say, Ute kamnand. Wati kamnand. But also when you are quiet, we say, iti okanye icha. That kum or num refers to the idea of silence as some form of manifestation of the soul. In fact, the very smile itself is a physical expression of your soul. You know, when someone like smile, it shows how your soul is feeling at that moment. That's why, like, you say numa, because num refers to the soul. It refers to the seat of consciousness, or not just consciousness, but uvalo. So the chest here, we call this place num. We call it num. It was, you couldn't eat that. You have to go and take it to the king. You see, Amandebele in Zimbabwe, but uchuma is to be quiet. Yes. Chum is to be quiet. Chum is to be asleep or in the spirit. Etongweni. That's where I'm going. Etongweni, you are in the chum. Why? Because we are not in the physical. So the word for silence, the word for breath, the word for soul, and the word for itongo, in and of itself, are related. So you understand, the hunting practice was guided by these principles, these spiritual principles. It was guided by this. You couldn't just go around murdering animals, taking the head of the elephant and putting it. No, man. You know, if our ancestors are walking, traveling somewhere, and a buffalo passes, they had to greet it like they would greet a king. They literally had to greet and salute the buffalo because it is the king in its own right. These are the beasts of the earth. They existed long ago. You pay your respects to them. You pay your respects to the water. You don't just cross the waters. When you arrive in a place with a new place you've never been to, and you are with a baby on your back as a mother, you take a piece of the soil, you attach it to the forehead of the child to say, I'm introducing you to this land. These days people just come to people's lands and they do kidnapping and prostitution. They sell alcohol and drugs in other people's lands. In ancient times, you couldn't even go to a new village without greeting the soil itself. My own mother, if she's traveling with me as a baby to a land I've never been to, because that land is guarded. It's not an empty land open for anyone to just walk across, especially when she passes through, because before you reach a settlement, you pass through empty tracts of land. She takes a little pinch of soil. That little pinch of soil As she's carrying me on her back, she pours the soil. I sense the soil. I'm not gonna get there and be, suffocated by whatever exists in those lands. I'm touching on these because they go together. Before you cross the waters, you greet, you ask for permission. Telele mvubu. We give thanks for the ability to know these things. Sithi hunchu, chocho, tatala wote. Khali zikalahabe madoda. Akhali zikalahabe madoda. Why do you think our ancestors were so persistent in living next to the source of the river? They loved living next. If they're not next to the source of the river, for some reason, maybe there was a fight, they are forced to run. They will try and ukunusa. They will try and do what we call ukunusa. That's why you've got people known as Nusa. The Nusa people, those who are next to the river. And you've got the Kusa people, those who are far from the river. Let me tell you something. Nusa, we say Nusa. Ukuthi nca, apha emlanjeni. Kusa, we say to scatter away. What it sa. Nature listens to us if we listen to nature. It's a two-way street. Nature listens to us if we listened to nature. When I was a boy, maybe I was 10, I do not remember the year. I went out with my friends. To tell you a little story. We went to a wetland, Umgqobhozo, where uhambe uyogqobhoza khona. We used to play in the wetlands where you have reeds. You had reeds. Not only reeds, you had birds. The weaver bird, the yellow weaver bird. I was busy there. We built a rafter with the guys. And we had a stick, udondolo. And we are using the stick to push the water. Pew, pew. Hey! Before I knew it, my stick has sunk. I can't find it. And I don't know. I just wanted to go and get my stick back. And then, boom! Deep into the water. I plunged. Deep! Pew, to the base, to the fourth floor, to the bed of the lake. Hey, I went up. I'm crying. I'm calling out the eldest guy in the group. And then I plunged again. I was baptized 3 times in the water. Anyway, my family, one of my friends went and wawa impimpi. As boys, you're not supposed to tell stories about those things. He went and told my family. And then the problem is that now we had elders visiting us. So they were busy making umqombothi there. Yo! The moment they heard that I almost drowned, they were like, wenzani? Uzama ukwenzani sandile? Usubani? Usubantoni? Yo! They moved me like nobody's business. Because bona, they viewed it in a different way. But we are preparing a ceremony here. You are busy there in some water disturbing things you should not disturb. Because we view the water as the palace. Did you know that? At least where I'm from, we call it Emzini Omkhulu. Why do you think there's a river called Umzimkhulu? Emzini Omkhulu. That is the palace, the most respected place where there's a river. And in the river, the most respected place is Ziba. There's a in the fish river there, in Nuba, there's a whirlpool, it's Ziba, known as Kwaqiwoshe. The whirlpool of the Twashe case. Yeah? Kwaqiwoshe. There's a ford where people cross, Zibukwe. There's another one known as Kwaqaleka or Zibukwe Kwaqaleka, something like that, in Ngqolo. These are places that our women, because our women, they were very, very, very respectful. They knew to avoid those places. That's why they lived longer. Very smart. In those days, indigenous women, they're very smart. They practice uhlonipa, avoidance, like nobody's business, and they lived longer. You don't hear about women getting kidnapped in those days. It didn't happen because everything was following process. There was process. That is the story of the lion. Now I want to talk about another one. The leopard, umhlekazi. Growing up at home, we did not call the leopard. We called it umhlekazi, the benevolent one. Oh, by the way, the name umhlekazi is not just unique to Amakos. You find it amongst the Nama. They talk about the Kaisep or the Kaimagu or the Kayaub, Abahlekazi, Kayaub. KwaZulu, they talk about Umuhle. There was even a person in the history of KwaZulu with the name Umuhle. So we never call the leopard. We never use the word Ingwe. We were taught, avoid that name. This is Umhlekazi, the benevolent one. I'll just touch briefly on the names of Ingwe. One of the names of Ingwe, is the name in Kwenkia. In Kwemana, it's Ururub. Now I'm going to help you quickly here. In isiZulu, the old version of isiZulu, not this one that children are taught at school. The old version of isiZulu, the leopard is called Ingulule, Ururu. Codification. Once again, I told you, the language you speak are just codified Kunkia and Kwemana. Ingulule in isiZulu, it's Ururu in Kwemana, and Ururu or Ururu in Kunkia. That is the leopard. You know what Ururu is? Comes from the word Kau that I talked about already. To chase after. Kau. Ukunqawa. Ukuqhawulela. When you're chasing after something, as children, we used to say, "Qhawulela ngapha." Catch from that side. And if you've seen how a leopard chases its prey, it doesn't use a straight line. It takes a curve. I've seen it chase. Excuse me. Yay, man. Yay. I've seen a leopard chase after a giraffe. I've seen it chase after a giraffe. We call it giraffe Iqheya or Umqheya. Qheya means to surpass, to be bigger than something. We call the elephant Owa, which is Owa, by the way, which also means the exact same thing, to be bigger than. The name of the elephant and the giraffe mean to surpass. In fact, the name Indlulamiti, the surpasser of the trees, and the name Indlovu. The name Indlovu. Ukudlova is to pass through by force. It's to pass through by force. Now, yes, that is correct. Ingulule is actually the cheetah. I'm going to touch on the cheetah next. It's the cheetah. The leopard, Now I'll tell you something. The word we use it to refer to amakuma. Now, amakuma are little lumps. If your body has little lumps or bumps, we call it amakuma. Think about it from the indigenous perspective. Yes, the word gukumba, to swell, it comes from that form of kum. Think about it from this way. There's no tiger in South Africa. There's no tiger, so we don't have an indigenous name for tiger. Ingwe is a leopard. There is no tiger here. You can't have a name for something that doesn't exist. Anyway, think about it from an indigenous perspective. To write in ancient times meant to scratch something or to dig into. In fact, the words for writing always mean scratch or dig. How? Because we used to scratch the walls of the caves, the walls of the huts and mud houses. Mud houses or clay houses are not new. You go to the record by Moody in the 1680s Our people are already living in clay houses. Our people are already living in clay houses. Guys, there is no tiger here. It doesn't exist. What's so difficult about understanding that? Tigers don't exist in South Africa. They come from Asia. How can you have a name for something that doesn't exist? Lipoho is Oho. Oho. It's one of the wild cats. It's Quinkia. Ngwe, it's Hwe. It simply means scratched or dotted. It's Quinkia once again. And unfortunately, there's no running away from Quinkia. All these discussions, oh no, it's tiger, it's leopard. That means nothing. The names are Quinkia. They mean something that is scratched in the body or something that is dotted. Let me help you. The name for the leopard in Quinkia, means amakuma, in reference to the spots. Because back in the day, when you are drawing spots on the stone of the cave, Mqolombeni, you have to dig. Either you dig or you scratch with the quill of something. Remember, you take a hard stick, and then you put the hair of some animal. Then you dip into the ochre, the ochre, in Kora Kobab is oku. In Sisutu, bari litsoku. Yeah? Abasutu speak about litsoku, the Kora speak about oku. You make the connection yourself. I'm not gonna force you to see it. If you don't want to see it, you're not gonna see it. But if you can see it, you can't unsee it anymore. So that kum means spotted, but it refers particularly to what? To the leopard. Now, ingwe. It really is Kwe. Kwe in Quinkia. Kwe in Quinkia. Once again, your Kwe is Ngwe. All these names. Let me help you with, think about it this way. If, and I'm going to go to cows, if these absolutely primal animals in our traditions, if these animals, which are absolutely important in our beliefs and our folk tales, how would you borrow names for these animals? Unless those names were the names your ancestors used to use, and somehow you just codified them. Is Quinkia a language or a nation? Quinkia, so the word Kui means people, right? And Kia is to talk, to make conversation, or speech. So Quinkia means people's language. It's a group of languages, what people call San languages or Bushman languages, which are not good words to use. It's Quinkia. So Kia is to talk. In Quinkia, you also have Kea, to talk. You also have Kea. You have also have Kala. You also have Kaka. Many words that mean to talk. But let me quickly touch on Kia. You see, in the Eastern Cape, there's a group of people known as Amampondomise. Amampondomise, when they are amongst each other in certain areas, to talk, they say Cheya. Ugucheya. Ugucheya is to talk. So that Kuntia, that Kia that you see, in the Simpondomise, but Ugucheya. Cheya is to talk. Kuntia. Ugucheya. Ugucheya kwama Kui, the speech of the Kui, which means the people's language. Now, let's talk about the cheetah quickly. The name of the cheetah, if you go to Kora Kobab, the speech of the Kora people, yes, Cheya, Uguchela, Kutela. Ugutela was, if you go to Nuki, they say Akala, Nkwa Kunkia. Akala, Nkwa Kunkia. He speaks the Kunkia of the Ngong people. Uteta ulumi lwamangqongo. Aqala Nkwa Kunkia. Utela ulumi lwamangqongo. So all those words are Kui. All of them, they are Kui. Ukutshela, ukuxela, ukuthetha, all of those things. Even hukobakoba, kasikoni, kaspedi, hukobakoba, arikobakobe, kanqe. Let's speak on the side. Kobakoba is the Kora Kobab. They say Kobab when they speak. Hukoba is to speak. In fact, you take it even further. Kum means to speak in Kora. Basuthu bari kumucha. Kum means to speak in Kunkia. Amaxhosa aduku kumsha. You know, back in the day, we used to speak to animals. We used to sing them songs and they used to dance to them. That was called kumsha. Our animals had names. The bulls had names. The bulls had names. Hinsa's bull was called Mali. Where do you think names like Mingangatelo and Amajing come from? Those are names of bulls. There was a Mfengu man in the 1800s who was attacked by the Hleke and the Mbalu. His name was Diko. Or Menziwa, I think his bull was Dangazele. The Mbalu and the Hleke, and you had Amamfene there. They took Dangazele. Hey, those Fengus, they came crazy fighting for that cow. So we used to talk to these cows, and that was called kumsha. That kum is the same one you find in Kunkia, which means to talk. Now let's go back to the cheetah quickly before I give my kai and my tikasab, kuntaseb, and wacheseb. The cheetah, Khua Saub in Korakubab, Khua Saub. In isiXhosa, a person who likes to dress up very nicely is known as Khasowa. Now, look at the similarities. Khua Saub and Khasowa, same thing. What does Khua Saub mean? Goes back to what I said, that the cheetah and the leopard, the names generally have to do with the sports. The idea that the elders saw when they looked at the appearance of these animals, they saw the idea of decoration, the idea of patterns, the idea of scratches, the idea of painting variegated colors. In isiXhosa, we say ikhasowa, khasowa, for someone who's very well dressed. Another name is ixoxombela, by the way. Oh, it's Twitwi. We use this one a lot at home. Oh, sis Twitwi madoda. Sis Twitwi. Chule le nto madoda. Chechu ngembe. See? In the Eastern Cape, there's a river called Khasucha. Another one, Aricha. Another one, Khamcha. Many rivers. I could talk all night about rivers. I love it. Ebecha, Kibicha, Debecha, Nanachu, Benuti, Kumango. I could talk all night, but let's focus. Khasucha. Khasucha comes from the word Khwasau, which is the cheetah. Where the cheetahs were abandoned, you find in the name Khwasaucha, by the abandoned cheetahs. Aricha, by the abandoned steinboks or steenboks. You know, Aricha has to do with steenbok, what we call chabang. We call it chabang, ichabang, and the steenboks and the grysboks. Okay, now what's in the name of the cheetah? Khwa. How do you say to write down? How do you say to write down in your language? Let me help you. In isiXhosa, we say ukukhola. The old way of writing, the old word is khola. To scratch, khwela. Or ukuti khwe. I tried teaching you guys how to speak. I told you, when you have that la at the end of a word, or that za at the end of a word, especially if the word is a verb, that la or that za generally means the word is derived in a secondary form. The original word tends to be the first sound. Ngwa in Sisudu, ngwala. That ngwa is khwa. That kwa in kwala is the same as the khwa. That kho in isiXhosa, kho, is the same as the kho. It's crazy because bala is also linked to what? To counting. Gubala. So that la at the end, that absolutely signifies an action. Sometimes it is za, sometimes it's da. For example, eda, neda, tanda. The original root there is nge alone. Ukuti nge. That's why you have words like ngenga, words like neba, words like ngese. They all come from that nge. So that khola, ukukhola, ukukhwala, hukwala, hungwala come from khwa, which means to scratch. Bukuda, buku. Buku. You find that it's actually buku. Buku. Yay! Ujambaza lona ngulisa ngumsuthu ngucanzi kusanza nguhlanga vele nosidulungu bemhlophe. Ngupheka iqhakuba neqhakuba nephemphem ngengqawana. Yabona xa ndithi iqhakuba, you must know I'm speaking Kho now. When I say pemphem, you must know I'm speaking Kho. You go to the Kho dictionary. Go to the Kho dictionary, you find pemphem. You're not going to find it in any other dictionary. Pheka iqhakuba ngepemphem ngengqawana madoda. Sithewuka ngeblembe entabeni sinqola ngomhluzi amanzi ekhona. Ngojambaza. Ucanzi. Isanzanze sanzonza kwathi umntu ukukhweba ukukhwempa ukuthi khwe. My Xhosa teacher he used to say that ithi khwe ngaphansi. He had other ideas, by the way, but we learned to speak in that way. Ithi khwe. You know the Kung people speak exactly like that. Ithi khwa. That's how the Kung people would say ithi khwa. They speak exactly like that. They use that T. Go to the Kunkia dictionary. Go to the T section. Look for TI. Look for TI. You'll see TI. It's an auxiliary verb. It exists in Kunkia. In Kunkia, no, Kung and other forms of Kung, they say Tiku Bekesa. Hang the jacket. In the Xhosa, itiku ibaji. Tiku bekasa, tiku ibaji. Same sentence structure, same placement of words. It's the same language. What more do you want? Oh no, we are from Congo. Well, if you're really convinced, maybe you are. Get out of my space then. Let me talk to my people. You guys are correct there in the comments. Hwaya is where Ngwaya comes from, and Ngwaya and Ugonwaya, Ungwaya, Hwaya comes from Hwa, to scratch. So the name then of the leopard, Hwa Saub, is the scratched one. Look at the face of the leopard. You will see it's got these tears that go down like it's scratched. Eh? That is the leopard. No, sorry, the cheetah. Apologies. Ihlosi. Qaus. Ihlosi. Qaus. Another name is Qururub. Qururub. Or Qururub. That is the one where Amazulu have preserved the name Ingulule or Lingulule. Oh, remember now, there's O, which means to follow, to hunt, and then there's O, which means to cut off something. One of the other things that are called Gause in Kunkia, Gause is the, what is this thing? The dog, the wild dog. Also the hyena is called Gause. The Gause is not Gause because of hunting, that one. It's Gause because it runs and cuts, like it turns back fast when it's being hunted by the dogs, domestic dogs. So when you hunt the wild dog or the hyena, you must know that you've got enough dogs to chase, because the way it runs, it goes and then it turns fast. So iyaqhawula, it cuts off very fast. That's why it was called Gause. The hyena, Gause, and the wild dog. So that Qururub, I believe, may have the same root, because if you look at how cheetahs and leopards hunt, they don't use straight roads. They like to come sideways. They cut off the animal from the head. So if you find a lot of springboks, your kurib or your kub or amakulu, you find those springboks. They will look for the one that they're gonna get there. They will try and separate it. They will cut it. Ooh. So that is your cheetah. And now, before I give you I want to touch on the horse. Now, there are many names of the horse that I've come across. Ase, Aten, which I believe is one of my my grandmother's surname, my great-grandmother's surname. Tatang. She was from the Tatang last name. And that is a horse, by the way. Now, the cow. This is what I wanted to talk about. And I want to shake your understanding. You see, if you listen to European scholarship and academia, and obviously colonial history being the ANC history, by the way, because the ANC, they put a stamp of approval on everything that the colonizers did. The ANC just continued to perpetuate it. So sad. So sad. Made up racial groups, made up language groups, separating the people of the land. You've got the cow, you've got the sheep, you've got the goat. I'm going to talk about those three. The general name, Inkomo. Other people say Ngombe. The sheep, general name, Nku. Other people say Imvu. Amaxhosa will say Igusha. And then you've got the goat, general name, Pudi or Imbuzi. Let me help you quickly. The cow, in olden times, especially the ones that you use as transportation or in battle, you know about the Battle of Salt River that took place in Rondebosch between Yokuri and the Portuguese, where the Portuguese were moored by the Kuriklikwa and pushed back to the shores of the sea in Pardon Island. Back to the shores of the sea in Pardon Island. Those cows that were used there were known as Eigu or Eikomagu. The cows that get tied up. You know, to tie. Ugoqina. Goma, it's a cow. Gu, plural. Eikomagu. Cows that get tied up. Amaqegu is cause. If you didn't know, now you know. When we were children, when we were playing the game, seesaw, we used to call it Egu. No, it's not Inkabi, because Inkabi is an ox. Any ox, it doesn't have to be an ox pack. Yes, it's still an ox. Amaqegu are generally cows. Khabi. Inkabi. Khabi. Qegu is a cow, yeah. The name Qegu is Gomagu. To tie, Goma, Inkomo, Gu, plural. Inkomo is Qinwayo. Amaqegu. That's it. So the cows were used as transportation in ancient times. Amaqegu. The cows were used in battles where Amaqegu. The cows were used in races. Amaleqe or Amaqatso. Amaqegu. Not imijaho. Umjaho is Afrikaans from yach, to chase. Or yacher, a hunter. You know, a person who's a hunter would get the surname yacher. Even our own people who ended up with Afrikaans name, they would be called yacher. That person's name was Kause, actually. Or Kauseb. Or Kawa. So the cow is Inkomo, Goma, or Gome. Gomeb. I like Gomeb because it links to Ngombe, which comes back to Nombe. Nombe. Now, you have the sheep. We had different types of sheep, by the way. We have the fat-tailed sheep, the gu. The gu, the fat-tailed sheep, in the masculine ending, it's guba. In the feminine ending, it's gusha. That's why amaXhosa called sheep igusha. But in Kungia, another name for these small antelopes is the name chu or vu. Or vu. Vu gives you imvu. Imvu. Mukaranga mentions belengu. Belengu is biriku. Biriku. Sheep. Goat. It's interesting. Or it could also be sheep that are milked for milk purposes, because the name for breast amabele come from the name bi in and of itself, which is breast or milk. That's why you have the river in Eastern Cape, 2 rivers, Bicha and Bingala. You know, Bicha means like milk waters. Bingala means abundant milk. Ngala means a lot. Sometimes you say bingala. You know, when there's a lot of milk around December, the cows are very fat. Cows are fat in those days, you know, like because there's green grass everywhere. There's a time we call ibingala or ibingala because the cows are producing so much milk and we live on milk like a staple. We love, you know, I was listening. Let me tell you something, guys. I was listening to a voice of someone who was born in the 1800s. Just this morning around 2 a.m. Maybe 3 people, 4 people who were born in the 1800s. I listened to their voices. They were speaking. Natives. Nothing written down. Voices. They speak. One of the women from the Sitatu clan, she says, back in the day, we did not plant many things. Only sorghum. That was the main thing that we planted. Everything that you see grew on its own. There in the wild. She mentioned pumpkin particularly, that we planted it later on. But originally it was a wild thing. What we really ate were the roots and tubes of plants that we dug underground. She called them inongwe. Now I know inongwe as the African potato. I never thought inongwe was the general name. I never thought inongwe was the general name for roots that come from underground. She said it with her mouth. It was not me. She said, no, back in the day, we just ate roots generally. Inongwe, zigadwe, zikhanabwe. So that means they would be roasted. And then over time, obviously, because we were trading and all that, some things came. And this is like old history now. This is not something from yesterday. Think about it. And it makes sense. To me, it made sense. To me, according to the history that I know. Because in 1779, when Kauta was visited by this European boy, William Patterson, a botanist who came to collect plants, that guy says he could not see gardens or farms. How were these people surviving? We know how. Because they were herders. They go hunting. They went hunting. You hunt. We take certain muscles in the animal, the kwaiten. We dry them. You get what they call biltong today. Kwaiten in Tram. Made sense to me. So back to Igusha then. The name Gu, you find it in Kunkia as well, which makes sense now when Basotho Batswana call it Nku. I'm trying to show you guys that if these things are so, because people are pushing the idea that they know, the natives, the Bushmen know nothing about cows, but somehow all the names of these things link to Kunkia. No, biltong is an indigenous food. It's how we preserved specific parts of the body. Umqwayito or qwayiten or qwaiba or cwebo. It's an indigenous food, biltong. It has nothing to do with Afrikaners. But of course, when we're not allowed to hunt or to keep animals, they're going to be the only ones who have the production power to replicate it. So it's going to be theirs now. It's going to be theirs now. Now, imvu, the word vu is there in Kunkia. You just have to go to the Kunkia and look, vu, it's there. Now let's go to the goat, because I see Amaxhosa struggling to understand that ibokwe, in the form that they're using the word bokwe, it is absolutely wrong. I'll tell you something. We differentiate between the male and the female goat. The male is not called imbuzi, but impongo or poko, which is oho in Grinkia, particularly in Khoan. That's why amatolo besithi mabanikazi mchenge vumba lempongo liyanuka. Poko, shipongo, it's oho. That is the one word that etymologically would link to bok and boke. We are their ancestors, not the other way around. And then mbuzi. Apologies. Mbuzi now is the diminutive version of mbongo. Now think about it this way. Oho is poko, which is mbongo. Ohoti is a diminutive now. Ohoti, little or feminine goat, which is putsi or pudi or mbuz. This same word, you find it being used. Ari is also used for little animals. And Amaxhosa use that same word, ari, for ibadi, the springbok. But AmaZulu will use ari for ipiti. I think impiti, they use it for, I don't know. What is impiti? Common daika, blue daika, I'm not sure which one. But the names mpiti, puti, mpunzi, mpuku, mbuzi tend to come together. You understand? Now, I'm going to give my good sirs some chance to talk. Tikai Kasab. The platform is yours, my brother. I'm going to mute myself.
Yes, was uhatsi re go khanga makai tai mitsi go kha miku ati qasap. Thank you very much, my brother, for all the important lessons. You know, I want to applaud you, my brother. You are pushing very hard, my brother, and I'm very proud of that. And I just want to tell you, all these things that I've done, I can assure you I've done them 10 years ago, but your extreme measures of power that you enforce into the literature and into teaching people on daily basis, it's very powerful. And I've said to you, and the reason why I say these things is because I'm not saying out of courage, because I see spiritually this thing, I've taken it out of to another platform. And I know there are other scholars as well, like also Chabisab as well. He's doing the good thing as well. Yeah, he's doing the good job. And I told him I'm going to boost his videos as well. And not only him, there's several other more as well. And my job is to teach. My job is to allow people to absorb, to understand. Because at the end of the day, people, I was taught as well. And mind you, people who taught me never had literature and books. These people, they taught me out of out of a verbal they taught me out of from a verbal Tamakayo, Isha. What I'm trying to say is out of the audible part of it, they taught me, and mind you, these people who taught me, they were never school literature. These people, they can speak the language in a perfect way. They are able to address certain things without writing and then without reading as well, because most of our speakers, particularly, they cannot read and write the language. Do you understand? So, mind you, even with the words that you've made, even on Facebook, you've made very good words that myself I was aware of, but I never took consideration, because most of the time when I make words, when I search words, I always search it from a Quora perspective, because make an example. You made an example with Tula. In Quora, there's a word called Tua, right? To lower, right? You say Tuaqe or Tua, or Tua, right? And Tua is something that to lower. That is why you have some names like Tobile, right? That is why we have words like Utobeka. Do you understand? And then we have Tulani, and then I always assume it comes from that word, because you must understand that these words they're codified. But the manner in which you brought it from a Gwenkia perspective, it's phenomenal. It seals everything. This is how it is. And hence I say to you, the job in 2030 or 2035, the platform will be different from now, because we are doing what we're supposed to do. We are assigned to revive what is ours, because we're not doing it for us just because we are from the bloodlines. It's because we are giving the legacy of Southern Africa. And per se, your vision, your lessons, they say a lot, they speak a lot. You know, I always watch people criticize you on Facebook, especially the so-called colored people. And where I feel like they insult you, that's when I get insight. I get into the conversation and say, you know, you can insult this man. Mind you, this man, he's not what you perceive him. This is a Tati, and he's a son of the ancestors. He's a son of the Kalahari. He's a son of the valleys. He's a son of the jungles. He's a He's from this part of the world. His ancestors, they're all over. Kalahari, KZN, Lesotho, Limpopo, even Eastern Cape. They're everywhere, even Western Cape as well. So the thing is, my brother, you've given critical words that I've listened to, and I like when you made an example with Nama. People don't know what Nama mean, right? And I always break it down to my understanding of Nama. Inyama, it's derived from a click word. It means to eat, right? You say tu or ta, right? When you say ma, it means to give. Ma, it means to give. It means to eat, right? You give. That's why your flesh and meat is called. You eat. You give, because you've made an illustration when you were saying that the meat is to. When you made an example, especially with the chest of an animal. In our culture, when you mentioned that a chest must be pulled over, that's one of the reasons as well. From a brown
Makes
color
sense.
in Nama
Makes
language as
sense.
well. It
Amapondo
means
say Nguma.
exactly. So you must understand, even in Nama culture, I mean Nama color as well. In Nama language, your Nama Kobab, they use brown color as Kama as well. Kama, it means brown, right? Yes. Now you must understand these words per se. We never had anything that identifies black with us, because even Ngu, right? When you say Ngu, yes, it's black, but to some extent in Ngu it could mean also brown as well, because when you say Ngwa, it can be Ogwa, also mean brown as well in our culture. And I've always stated to people, we are not in our languages that are always put into this perimeter of connotation with European languages, and it's not like that. Abantsundu, to say black in our culture, it always goes with connotation. Make an example. A dark color in Kora or in Kwe languages, it's Kri, right? They use Kri, right? There's a word called Qebe. Qebe, right? Qebe, it means
Yeah,
dark.
yeah.
It means something that's foreign, because your Qengwa was not dark, was light skin. So a darker colored skin tone, it's foreign to them in the past, right? So when they identify somebody who is Qebe, oh, it's a dark person. That is why even today, when you made an example, we say foreign, somebody who's a foreigner, you identify with Qebe. You understand? And to the
Maqembe
fascination,
ngesizulu.
exactly. And you must understand, certain words, they have double vowels, right? And those double vowels, they will change. And once they change, sometimes it sounds a word, it has only one vowel in pronunciation, only to find it's a double vowel. Sometimes double vowel, you cannot hear it from another language, but it means the same thing as well. Like, for example, uh, you made an example with a horse, right? A horse, it means hub
Yeah.
or has, right? In Kwe languages, right? But Kwe languages in Kalahari, they don't use hub, they use B, right? They use B. That is why Kasijwana lesage so to keep pitsi. You understand? B. Even in Afrikaans or Dutch, when they say parrot, makes sense. Do you understand? But it's B as it is, because the reason being it trots, the whole trots. That's why they say B, and me in Quora, it means to say. Do you understand? That's the connotation behind that as well. That is why they call it that in that sense. Ha, it means it's an animal that comes, because when you call it, it comes. Do you understand? And it's an animal that goes faster, and it's very strong. It's very muscular. It's an animal that can, like a cheetah, it can run. Do you understand? So you've made a good example as well with these animals in terms of hunting. It's very powerful, my brother. You know, these words that you're giving, they're very powerful. And I'm one person, when somebody gives out something of this nature, meaning and the depth of meaning of such, it means not only who's present or alive, but it goes with generation, because your lives, you're recording them. Somebody who is not yet matured at this level of lifetime, but I tell you, in the next coming 5-7 years, when they watch your videos, they are going to get fascinated by this, and they are going to endorse this for further means, whatever they pursue in terms of linguistics or in terms of your like your, if it is your Qwenkia, your Datan, your Kwe mana, or your Kwe languages per se. It's the same in whatever spell you might give. You know, the other part that I've listened as well, giving as well, when you were giving a lesson, especially with the language, with an elephant and a lion, it's phenomenal, my brother. I want you to keep it up, because I don't want to touch on those because I think you have said more. I don't want to touch on those things, because when you mention Taru or Kau, right, or Kau, it means a lot. It means something. Because even I remember when some previous lives, when you mentioned Kham, it means to roar, right? The roaring of the animal, the sound which it roar, because a lion has a big roar, right? Of all cats, it has a big phenomenal, especially the big, your Cape, whether it's your Cape lion, whether it's your Barbary lion, they have a phenomenal roar, and that roar, it's hum. You see, it is how it roars. That's how it conveys its vocals to the message. It's from its own territory and so on. That's very good. That's very it's upper class, my brother, and that's why I say it's a lesson. It's a good lesson, and you must understand. There are people who are going to follow. They are going to follow this whether they like it or not. There are many people who dislikes this information because they want to serve a political agenda. But I want to be quite honest with you. The information that you are endorsing and that you are teaching on lives, I want to be quite honest with you, they are taking you at the next level. Even my parents, I wouldn't want to lie, I have a father who watches your lives, who watches your videos. Imagine somebody who's 70 something years old but still watching your stuff. My father doesn't even bother watch my stuff. At some point I used to ask him, but why do you watch other people on TikTok? But you've never, all these years, you've never paid attention to what I say. The thing is that caught him. My father's one person who's very pragmatic. So when we went to present certain things as certain, on not family gatherings, but on gatherings per se, he would be fascinated how I would give a lesson. And he would speak for maybe, let's say, 30 minutes or so, but I would speak for an hour. Do you understand? More than an hour, because I'm giving a lesson where people will be quiet, and people, when I give pauses, maybe I stop, people say, no, continue. We are listening and we're learning. Do you understand? So he's got used to me in being a pragmatic person when I speak than rather seeing me on social media and so on. So hence I say there are a number of things that we learn, we give. There's many words that people would never understand, because remember when I said to you, our ancestors, they adopted children's your young kwe, when they learn click languages, they adopted their way of not pronouncing words correctly. They adopted that and they codified. That is why I call it codification, because that's a system in which they utilized in the past. And I used to say to you, that's how you find transitional languages that are existing today, more or less, like your so-called 11 languages that currently exist to this day. They all exist as a result. And most of the time when you tell people, the creation begins at home, from ye ngaka chiba, right? And people don't understand that, because most of them, they want to prove a political composition. They want to say, no, we are the Bantus, who are whatever. I don't care about that. And at the end of the day, you can want to emphasize that. I wouldn't want to be at people's jaws and say, no, you're incorrect. No, people have the choice and decisions to endorse, to embark, whatever they want to reflect on. It's up to them. But you and I, myself, yourself and myself, we cannot run away from this, because we belong here. We don't belong somewhere else. We belong from this progeny. So it is our job to continue what we have been provided by the ancestors. Make an example. In my experience with my own ancestors, right? Through my maturity, when I started learning Kora and speaking Kora, even to this day, speaking Kora at this point of time, I've adjusted my way of communicating further with my ancestors. And one of the key focal part about this, my brother, is that it helps to communicate, because a lot of children, they go to these initiation schools. Once they complete, now the spirit evokes. When that spirit is evoked, now it speaks in a language which they don't understand. And I keep telling people, you can praise your ancestors in isiXhosa or isiSotho, Setswana, for as long as they Kua, those people. For as long those people, they spoke Kontali or they spoke Korakoba, it's going to be difficult. They can only direct you. But in terms of speaking, you find yourself while you're speaking in a language you can't understand. I always tell to these people, it's because the platform in which you went to a platform that you didn't understand. That is why we prefer children who are from the progeny. Let them go to people who are experiencing the in healing. In healing, it's not only in South Africa. It means go to Botswana, go to Namibia. There are many spiritual healers. Your Nama, your Tseikwe, your Kung, your Junghasi, your Datkan. They are there. To go to Botswana, it's not a lifetime. It's a life saving, because at the end of the day, for us to understand that there are some parts that were divided intentionally by the British state in the past in order to subdivide people, because they knew even if it was not for the land territory or whatever purpose it might be, they knew people, if you scatter them apart, you are dislocating. As long as they can, they are able to thrash those in the south, they know that those in the upper north, they don't care about them in whatever fashion it might be. So that's one of the things as well that we are faced with in this point of time at Dikrasap, and it's a challenge, but and otherwise spiritually we are connected. That is why we have people from Limpopo. You find a person who's having spiritual connections. Brah, tell me, how do you help me? I have dreams that I'm dreaming of my ancestors that they says everything that I need is in the Kalahari. Conversations, they get long. I help a person, I tell a person, no, you belong there. Limpopo, it's a migration part. You need to go there. That's the only part that you need to do. And what you see in a dream, it means you must pursue it. That means you must go there. I help a lot of people. How many of you, Baputi, I've helped? There are a lot of them I helped on social media. When we are on WhatsApp, we are on groups where we incite these teachings, and people, they disagree on us. But I always tell people who disagree, the disagreement that you are having, it's something that somebody else is having curiosity from behind the doors who are listening, and they are asking me on the side. That is why sometimes I say they can disagree with me on certain levels. I'm not worried. I'm worried about somebody who's going to pull my statement and say, you know what, you said this and this and this. I come from someone, they spoke something similar to you. What does it mean? I have to lay down and give explanations to say, look, bro, if you are having this kind of a problem, this person is telling you that the spirit you are having, it means you are, that means you need to travel. I traveled in order to know myself. I discovered myself here where I was born, but I couldn't understand how. I had to travel. For the traveling that I took for all the years, from here to Kas, from here to Khatweba, which is Berkeley West, Kas in Kimberley, in Berkeley West, I manifested. There are many things I discovered all along the journey. When I slept, sometimes I had to rest to sleep, only to find out to connect with what I had. I was connecting with the area, and there's a lot of things that I discovered when I was in that part of the world. And these are the things that nobody can even give expression of, because most of us, we understand things from a colonial perspective, as you say. You've made mention with ANC as well. ANC is a proven nonsense. ANC doesn't even know its own history. We know ANC history more than ANC, because we've done research, and I don't want to lie to you, Khakhasisep. We've done research from the ages of 2016, 2015, even beyond. There's a Tuak Ausep who passed on, right, in 2020, by the name of Shambi Blakis. He's very good in this, my brother, and certain things I learned from him in terms of research. Indigenous history, he was not good, but in terms of doing research about your family history, that man was very phenomenal. He could get every information, bits and pieces. He could knit them from 1800s and from the 1700s, and he wouldn't go on beyond, but he will tell you, by the time at a certain period, will tell you there were files that were created. Rich people were there, who were people of color in the 1800s, and then he would state, he would give a narrative on such basis as well, and he would prove it, my brother. He would travel, he would tell. well, there were records in the Eastern Cape. It will tell you the land from the land records from the Eastern Cape. People from Xofimvaba, before they settled in Xofimvaba, where did they come from? People who are living in Ngamakwe, except for the people who are from your so-called Amamvengu, right? Where were they coming from? Before then, Mfengu settled there, who were the people who used to reside there? He would tell you because he had the records as well. The deed records. He taught me skills in order to seek information and as such as well. I have my father's elder brother who was given a land, and then there were people who were jealous of from here in the Free State. In order for him to have everything signed, he had a lawyer who had compiled everything. I had to assist him. I said, look, we'll go to the deeds office. I did that to a point that everything went well. Do you understand? Because the people who were very jealous of him with regards to the land, it was because the owner of the land gave land to him, entrusting him, seeing that how much he was very committed to that. But nevertheless, I want to show you, my brother, lessons, language, they have significance.
Yes.
I used to say to people, is it the language that you're having today and the indigenous languages, they would differ in terms of enunciation, but the name are the same. Like, for example, in Xhosa, when say endlini, it's nging, right? It's the same.
Yes.
It's a nging. You have Ngqongqo and Nging is the same people. And some people in the north, they pronounce Ngqongqo as Nging, and those from the south, they pronounce the Ngqongqo as Nging. Do you understand? And that is why you find isiduko there like that. And when you tell a person, this is how, the enunciation will change. Some people, they have this perception that their tribal names, they are coming from one enunciation. No, it has different enunciation. You don't say it the way it's supposed to say it. It's supposed to be said because of region, because the dialects, they will change. And that is why that we find people, they will enunciate it a bit different. Like, for example, people, they say hlati instead of say chati, right?
Yeah.
Do you understand? They say hlati because of it is somebody who enunciates this, because these people were not of your Xatsi background, but these people were of your another background. But because they lived among Sotus, people who are called Xatsi, they didn't desert with that exonym, right? They accept that exonym is the same. This corrupted not ethnonym, it is the same. That's why it
Yes.
stuck with you. That's why you say Hlati instead of saying Khatsi. You understand? But you knew yourself that in even if you spoke Gqebe language, you would say Kanzi. Kanzi is the same thing. Do you understand?
Wow.
And that is why I say to you, people they don't acknowledge. People acknowledge things from not a broader perspective, because South Africans, they like reading. They don't like exploring what they read. And that is the most concerning part, where you and I have explored these things. We've walked these things. I've walked the path. You've walked the path. And people think when you are saying that, it means you are giving a recitation to that as well. And that's one thing that also amazes me, because
Wow.
people, they think this is a recitation. No, it's not a recitation. If you go to Kalahari, if you go to areas like your Kuruman, from the upper side of Kuruman, on the northwest of Kuruman, or north part of Kuruman, you find Korana Kareb that side. Even where I am in the Bloemfontein on the east side, you find Korana Kareb. The history is people don't know. People they always learn because of books. I learn from books, but I was proven a point by mother tongue speakers. Whatever you learn from books is not 100% guaranteed. But when you learn something from a mother tongue speaker, it's guaranteed, because they're giving you 100% information as well. And that is why we are where we are today. We learn and we keep learning. And I've accounted to that. I keep learning. When I went to the Kalahari some years back, I went with the perception of knowing, but I told myself I am going to learn. And fortunately, I learned. I learned from the time we arrived, we were welcome at 6 o'clock in the evening to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I had to still do what? I had to still learn and keep learning. And the people who taught me, the richest part of what I've was taught that side. There were people whom today, when you look at them, you take them for granted, but the amount of knowledge they carried, phenomenal. It was very phenomenal. Now, that is why I say to you, my brother, there are a lot of things that we need to fulfill. As long as people, they will tell you all this cosmology, they'll tell you about the sun, they'll tell you, look, that's why I say your scholarship with others as well. I like the mere fact that you are knitting everything together. Like also Josep as well, when he said Xaka or Xanga, right? It means where the term Langa comes from, which I bought this.
Yeah.
You understand? And I like the manner in which he endorsed, and his videos. What I like about his content, he makes videos. His videos, he takes songs, and he makes songs out of what he's interpreting from. And I said to him, he must continue doing that, because the crux is we are dealing with societies who are not aware of language. There are people who are taking a white anthropological linguistic form to say people they stole clicks, people they're saying this. I always say that where is the evidence? Because I keep telling people, in order to acknowledge, people to stop learning Kwekwe Guap and think Kwekwe Guap, it owns everything. No, Kwekwe Guap, it is a Kwe Guap. It's a Kwe language, right? Of a certain dialect that is spoken by a Nama, that is spoken by your Kwe society, which is a Yotamaran, even your Haikom as well. They speak the language, right? The crux of the whole thing, they only learn certain applications within the language. People don't know Kwemana. People don't know Kwenki of your Kham. They always think that they are associated to Kwenki Kham. They think no, Ekasa Kham. I always tell people this is dangerous because you don't know these languages. You are telling that a Xhosa language is Zulu language. These languages are coming from Congo. People don't know that the originality is from here, not from the north, the south. Anything that you might find, whether it is Setswana, that you might find as Sesotho, that you might find as Gwingia, that your Atan or Kwemana or your Kwe languages per se, is the same. Here it's the beginning.
And the problem,
it comes here. You know, I was watching, there's this gentleman, my brother, on TikTok. I cannot say his name, but one of these scholars are very lazy because linguistically they're rotten. They don't know nothing. They are always their application course of point proving in matters. It's always based on politics side of it. He was saying that Nubian people are Nguni people. I took his video and I said, you know what? I'm going to do a good stitching to this video because the problem is we're having these scholars. They think they are deep. They're not linguistically sharp of what they are conveying. At the end of the day, they would want to argue with you because in their narrative, they want to give a concentrated type of narrative that people, they need to concentrate on and acknowledge or understand. And whereas their narrative there's no meaning, they don't even give hypothesis to what they're saying. They think this is the jolly mode of what they are self-professing on the platform. You see your platforms, my brother. I always watch your videos, not all of them, but mostly these videos that you post on TikTok and I mean on YouTube. These videos, they give sensibility. They may not make big sense now, but I'm telling you, you will see people, even universities, are going to use your hypothesis of your information. They are going to make it information, potent information to say, you know what, we were not there when this man made this video, but what this man said, we are going to reference this. It's going to be a reference. You're going to be made reference on books as well. You understand? And it might never be now, but it's going to start now. As we're speaking right now, we have also newspaper journalists as well on your live. They are there. You might never seen them, but they are there. And they are going to do what? They are going to take information, a bit of information that we are discussing here. They are going to make stories as well. Sometimes they're going to make them as if it is them saying it, as if them, but knowingly, even from their perspective, it is not them that are conveying that. So that is why I say to you, your lessons are very powerful. And we're not moving backwards, we're moving forward. And the more forward we move, and the more we teach. The same when somebody says, the Khusep's teachings as well when he mentioned Ilanga. I mean, Namhlanje, the name Namhlanje. You know, I never thought of that. I always knew there was
That's
a word.
crazy.
When he built the word Namhlanje, it makes sense because this is how it was. When you say Tsamgqi, yeah, do you understand? It means Namhlanje, and it makes sense because all codifications were there. And his way of doing it, I don't want to interrupt it because I told him we are advancing. The scholar, it's your teachings. We need to honor them. We need to teach because here in Qingasi languages, there's no wrong because one word can mean 5 meanings. You cannot say
Yeah,
a person is wrong. So that's why I say if
yeah,
something you see that okay, that person says it differently, it might be different. Like for example, we have some of our brothers who are Qingasi Ngoba. They have their own philosophy when it comes to the word Tito as well. Others they say no, Tito, it was a shaman, someone they believe that. I said no, it's fine. It should be a shaman, but remember it's a mythical reference because there's different ways of saying it in a language. Someone they say Tikao, right? Tikao. When you say Tikao, it means my law. Kau, it means law. Kau, it means law. When you codify Kau, it's from Kau. Do you understand? I said to him, the name also, it comes from different connotations, and you can't say that the word means this.
yes,
Because I said to them, the Nama they say Tingho or Tinghua, right? Ngwa, no, they say Tinghua, right? In Kora, there's another way to say Dikhu, right? Dikhu. Khu, it means Lord, my Lord. Do you understand? Dikhub. So when you say Dikhub, it means my Lord. Do you understand the connotation behind that? Never mind the clicks, but the incitation with the clicks, it becomes
yeah,
different.
yeah,
You understand? So I always say to people, understand the word, the language, not from a standard point. The standard point is dangerous
yeah.
because you're going to be limited. Do you understand? But the moment you understand this from an unlimited way, you would know exactly that you are going on the right pattern. We
Cabanco.
are having lawyers, we are having scholars, we are having different types of scholars, we are having engineers. All of them, they are into this platform. Whatever they never understood, they will understand today. You understand? And one I say to you, the crux of the whole thing is even if you make an example. Remember, I shared a video. I mean, a voice note with you. My auntie, right? My auntie studied in Michigan in the US some years ago in the 80s, right? She graduated, she got her degree. She even she taught in the University of also Teflop as well. And mind you, she's very right? Intellectual more than me. She's more qualified than me. Do you know her colleagues in terms of knowledge? She referred her colleagues to me in terms of knowledge. Why is she doing that? It's because she wants to prove. She wants to prove to the world. I have a nephew who's more. This man is self-taught. This man didn't go to the universities and stuff as you can call, but this person he had the ability to do what? To teach. And you know this woman, she was married to a Movenda, right? And she's a Zulu speaking woman. And we spoke. She's fascinated by Isivenda. And the funniest part is when you look on social media, especially on TikTok, we have Zulu speakers who are giving disrespect to Venda speakers as well because of mistreating them and so on. But in a manner that this woman, she was very passionate and she speaks isiZulu and she's very passionate about what? Passionate about Chivenda. And she asked me, and she was very, very affectionate. We spoke, and I said to her, you know, the reason being, Chivenda is part of our language. The system, the lexica, the grammar, it's similar to us. The manner in which they speak is different, but they can listen, they can hear the words, they are more common. In Chivenda, they have Delela. Even though they don't say Delela, they say Derera. It's the same, right? In Chivenda, they have words in which most people don't find common, but they are more or less the same in meaning, and they are more or less contemplating to the same meanings that we have on these other languages as well. But the crux of the whole thing, the woman was very fascinated how I did these things. And she said to me, how did you manage? I said, if you want to understand things pragmatically, travel. I said, you were married to a man who is a Movenda, whereas you're a Zulu. You learned to adopt and to adapt to the Movenda, to a Vavenda way of doing things. And that is why you understood and you were fascinated even to this point of time, the time you were married to a Movenda. The same as in South Africa as well. People, they see things on social media. The reason why they cannot get hold of it is because they want to observe everything from academia. They don't want to have a physical experience of what they are saying, because problem is South Africans are very lazy. When I say South Africans are lazy, a South African can book a holiday flight from here to Cape Town or from here to Botswana, right? From here to Namibia, they can do that. They like to go to Angola, to Seychelles, wherever. But South Africans, they cannot book a holiday to go and spend with indigenous people to learn something from there, because to them, it's just primitive people. That's how South Africans are doing. But how do you want to learn when you go to a holiday, you're going to meet your own people? You don't want to learn from them. Take a pen and paper, record. You have phones, you have smartphones, record everything. The moment you can start recording and take all the information, as little as it is, how much is it going to teach you? A lot. But we're having people in South Africa who can do everything. They can go anywhere in the world, but they are failing to do so with their own kind because of what? South Africans are very lazy. Just to cut the long story, just to give others a chance as well. We are living in a society that is embroiled with academia, which I don't have a problem with academia, but my problem is with our on our daily routine. Information is not well coordinated in our fold. We have lawyers. We have lawyers who are doing what we are doing, and they are doing it pragmatically. But we are having people who are academically distraught because they think they know, whereas they cannot comprehensively connect with this. Kachasiseb, there's one thing I've also learned as well. Even you as well, you have learned as well. Your history, when you learn your history, you didn't learn your history from only Eastern Cape. You learn it from all four corners. My history, I learned it also from all four corners. And I didn't find facts. I found spiritual facts as well. I'll share this with you as well. In 2021, when I went to Mamusa it's Schweizer Reneke. You know Okaba, when they praise, they like to say Umenyes. I always ask Okaba, Umenyes, they couldn't tell me. The only person that I knew Menyeza was me, because the oral history that I got from what is present day Schweizer Reneke and also in Daum in the northwest, it gives information that people in the Eastern Cape, they praise, but they praise in isiXhosa, but they don't praise in Xhosa. There was a king, there's two chiefs, right? Even in fact one, because we have your Tabo Kho, right? Tabo, it means your shoes, and Xhosa, it means shoe. We say Tabo, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we say Tabo. That is why in Setswana naloko Taboga, when you run, you are Taboga. Right. Tabo, it means your horseshoes, right? He was known as Tabo Kho. Kho, it means to scream, to yell, right? Because that person, he was praised when he came from a horse. The hoofs of a horse, you could hear them from a distance, that people used to flee away from him. Now, when you read the history of Qihab, I looked at it, I said, man, years, Menyezwa. Throughout the years, when I read this, throughout the years. Now, when I discovered that maybe sometime in 2014, 2015, how is that possible? But then I studied words, then I gave curiosity of words, and then I studied, I could see it makes sense. The time I went to his graveyard, the person I read, the day I went, I was on a bus going to Legstop. I had a dream of him up, sitting with me on a bed. We were speaking Xhosa and a bit of Afrikaans, but Xhosa, particularly, we were Xhosa in a bus. And the time when we were Xhosa, He sat there. He was very happy. Just an old man, light skin, small eyes. Then I
Yeah,
could
yeah,
see what
yeah.
this is real. This is real. Then you're connecting with your own people. What hurts me the most, Chasise, we have Amangosini who are born in Switzerland, but they don't connect with this graveyard. That thing made me cry. Because the problem is they're learning is data that are not theirs from that side, but they are not learning what evidence of who they are, the originality of their ancestry is there. There was one on here on TikTok. He asked me, "How do I know search my ancestors, my brother in Schweizerland?" I said, "Go to the dam. You'll see Qiyab's graveyard there." That man never came back to me ever. He listened what I say. The next thing I saw the man on my inbox. I don't know how he got my numbers on my inbox. Then he said to me, "You know what? I went to the graveyard. I connected to the graveyard." I said, "Most of you, if you can start moving from that mentality, because you guys were born here, and the thing that makes me cry is because everything is in your eyes. You want to go to the east." I said, "You're not going to the Eastern Cape. Schweizerland is your place of your ancestry." I drove away from, I went from a bus from Bloemfontein, imagine Bloemfontein to Klerksdorp. To go from Klerksdorp, then I had to meet relatives from Klerksdorp that went to Mamusa. We went via Bloemhof. Bloemhof, it's where Titi, they used to reside, right? I went to those areas. Those areas are not far from where my father was born. They're not far from those areas. And I went, and when I went there, I spiritually could see things. I manifest. So that is why I say our people in South Africa, they are very lazy, because you find a person is connected with something. No, he wants to take it from a wrong platform. But which I don't have a problem with people. The people learn when they're doing things wrong as well. So
Yeah.
hence, my brother, keep it up, my brother. Keep it up. When I say to you, keep it up, it is not the end. Even if you're going to be 50, even if you're going to be 90, what you have created today, it is going to be a people's treasure. And the generations to come, they're going to hold on to this treasure as well. So that's the only thing I want you to maintain, and don't be afraid. People are going to swear at you. As I've said on social media, Facebook platform, I have so-called colored people swearing at you. They were swearing, saying whatever they want to say. I guaranteed, I said, this is a Chati. Whether he speaks isiXhosa, whether he speaks what, he's a Chati. This one is not fake, he's not claiming. This one, he is what he is. And he's connected all over. So if you're going to tell him whatever, tell us who are your ancestors, because being a so-called colored, it doesn't
They
give
hate
you a
that.
platform to because I love helping them, because the bloodline, you'll never see a so-called colored bloodline charging. You'll never see. The only thing you see about them, unity. But those who are like, especially from the Western Cape, who like to charge, you see them, they are very rude. They will tell you this, they will swear. But as a bloodline gets very, very curious about information, and they get curious about data, where the data has been spread from. Tikasap, I would like to give
Hey,
others a chance. I want others
Katala
to speak.
wote. Katala wote qaqwa chesep.
I like
Qulugalele,
I
qulugalele.
like
Swatini
I like even when
nasemangosini.
you I like when you teach the word khotoba. You know, there's a term word xawuxuba, xawuxuba. There is a greeting when you say
Yeah.
abathembu, they use this. I usually say to this is true, because I know there was a greeting they say xawuxuba, xawuxuba, and that xawuxuba, it is ukhotoba, and Basotho ba re ke kgotso.
Khotsong.
Abatsebe
Yeah.
kgotso o tswa kae? And that is why I say these teachings, they are very phenomenal, my brother. I want you
Amako.
to continue. And I'm here. I wish also Mshumali Welanga was here as well. I am here, people. I am going to spread people's information. It's high time knowledge, even if how much deep knowledge it is. People who are straightforward minded, if they want to spread something deep, we are here. We are going to do wonders. We are children of this area. We are children of the sun. My father was teaching me the other day. He said the sun is considered in Korah as the masculinity, the Kham, which is the
Yes.
most femininity in a feminine way. The stars are children. I named my daughter Zamiros because of a dream I had. And to this day, when she sees the sun, the moon, especially even the eclipses, even the lunar eclipses as well, she would go outside and we all go as a family to go and watch because of that. There's a significant in that, my brother. So our people, they must just, and on the comment section as well, I would like to also to give thanks to all other scholars. There are scholars as well there, and they must not get tired. Information they need, we will provide. We want to do this all together so that we write, most of us should write books, support each other's efforts, and then these books must be on the shelves. We must teach the system. The system is not about what white people are doing, because I would share with you as well. There was a white guy that I was teaching, and I would not say his name, but he was from Naisna. I said to him, the name Naisna, it is a Korah name, right? It's Kaisna, right? We say Kaisna, that's why you say
Yeah.
Na. And I told him, I said, it's a specific plant, Kais, right? We say Kaisna. And then I said to him, the name on its own, even the history, and you as a white person teaching our children history, we need to have a system of giving a pre-review to our history, because the Department of Education is teaching things that are null and void into our children. Cannot teach children Khoi and San history that is from a white man, that most of you guys are not linguistically equipped. You can't teach English words in a corrupted form. That you guys wouldn't allow. Or teach Dutch information that is corrupted. Would you allow? They said no. But why do you want to teach our language and teach our children existing things that you guys are not affiliated with, because you have no clue of? And then he agreed. I said, if you allow me to teach you, I will teach you. But significantly, what he did was he had to validate with his other colleagues who were professors. One professor says, how valid is this information? I ask him, ask the professor, what point of validity does he understand? Does he know the language? Ask the professor to test me. Does he know these languages? Ask him, does he know this language? Does he know this language? The professor said no. I said to him, tell the professor should not comment on information that he does not know. If he knows the language, he should say, I have information. He should not use sources, because those sources are not going to help him. Because in a language as old as whatever is recorded, you might find the other going, your dad come from the north in Namibia, between Namibia and Botswana, and the one in the south, they would differ. They would enunciate words differently, and you're not going to say that the word, how sure am I with the word? Because you guys are used to standardization of information. That is why you're teaching people limited information. My brother, let me not waste time. Sida qwa ku qhagaba ga nqamaqai qhaqasa khukwa qaqasa qhebi are ngai kwekua qaiha qaihana heba he platform qaqwa wasen khanqamaqai site shite qenqasi khukwa. Let me give others to speak and also have the chance to speak, so that I give them the opportunity to speak as well, so that they can express themselves. Thank you very much, brother.
Qamagu, Qaqwa Seb, Qamagu, Qaqwa Seb, Kaise, Kaise Qixaqotsi, Kai, Qaqaqaub, Kaiti, Qaqaqaub. Did it tatala wote, isiXhosa. Did it chocho, unchu, chochubeko. Athi amaXhosa ke ulugalele zwathindini lasemanqosinini lasemacosheni litye limnyama eliqengqeleka sehla lisenyuka phezu komlambo igqili. Camagu Dikai. Thank you very much. Kaise Qixaqotsi. I just wanna to put a note on a few beautiful things you said. Firstly, we are not claiming anything here. this is who we are. You see, this is my my late beautiful aunt. Nah. It's a pity I don't have my granny's pictures or my grandfather's pictures or any of them. They were born in the late 1800s, my grandparents. So you'll understand they were not actually young people. My grandfather, both of them, my grandfathers were from the 1890s. From the 1890s. By the 60s already, they were old, you see. So I did not get to see most of them. I only met one who passed away when I was 4. Uscaw, Makabash, Mampel, Komosbomf. And then that was it. But she is the closest looking person to my grandmother. This is my father's sister. But she doesn't. This is how my bloodline people are. This is them. I don't have to justify anything. It's there. It's in their faces. Their faces tell their story. You see, it's not something that I can change or add to. It's you just have to look at them. You just have to look at my people. You just have to look at my people. I don't have to justify anything about them. Really, that's why Tikai Kasab, I'm very comfortable in who I am. I'm super comfortable in that because I don't need a stamp of approval for it. I was raised with this. Ndayincanca ebeleni le nto lena. Ndayitya esicakathini le nto lena. Ndabuya ndayifumana emnqayeni. Uyaqonda? Ewe. So abonyathela khona kushiyeka iziginqi ezingumkhondo. If you can smell in the spirit, you can smell my odor. You can smell me that I am what I say I am. I didn't catch it, I'm not doing copy work here. This is raw, this is real. And you know it, and those who know. Kamagu. So insults don't really deviate me because my work is not for that. My work is to really put it out there. For those who can see, they will see. Maybe now, maybe years later. I saw it with you, Tikai Kasap. 8 years ago, when everyone was fighting you in a lot of these groups that we were on. But you were patient, and that is more than anything, really. That is worthy of respect to be able to just focus on what you're doing. Kamaku. Another thing you mentioned the word tour, to go down, to lower. Tour. I don't know if you know this, but it is because we use the word tour when, especially children, when a child is gonna relieve themselves, they're gonna have to go there to the private room and relieve themselves. They have to go down and release. Yeah, tour. But also, the room where the chief comes together with people and they go down and sit down and discuss, the private room, one of its name is known as Amtwa. Ikamtwa lenkos. Amtwa. Now, remember, is to sit, is to lean on something. Think about when you put your head on top of a pillow. We say, yeah, amela. So, really is to put on top of something. Tua is to lower. So it's a sitting room. Yeah, it's a sitting room. Tewa, tua, ukutua. So that sitting room there where the king discusses, those discussions are known as ibunga or ukugugula. It's called amtwa, the sitting room. So that's where the word twa also manifests. And also the number 9, toba, it's tua in a way, because you see, you toba only, you lower one finger, tua, and then boko, and then hand. Anyway, so that's another thing you mentioned. I just wanted to touch on briefly before I give Tikasab Kunta Seb. Another thing, okay, I have forgotten the other ones, but the ilanga, haka, I like that, because if you think about it, fire is and many other forms, blah blah blah. Haka therefore would mean that the sun is an object of fire, the fiery object, which makes sense because it's a sort of heat. Chaka of fire, or that one of fire. And then chaka, the little one that comes from fire, ilangabi. Ilangabi, a flame, chaka, ilangabi, and then chaka, ilanga. You know, back in the day, some of the Sothofied pronunciations of langa is actually laka. It's laka, which makes sense. A person who tends to be angry quickly, kutwa unolaka, he's hot. Unolaka, laka, which is a codification of chaka, once again. So I'm putting a stamp on that chaka thing that Khusi Kabese came with. I'm putting a stamp of approval on that one. Absolutely. It's good, you know. It's good. Lakabi is a flame. Chakaki. So that's very good. Another one, the Nyembezi one. It's crazy. Nyembezi. I was like, damn, this is it. You know, Nyembezi. This is literally it. So it's beautiful to do this kind of work because, you know, we are planting seeds. Sometimes the seeds, they fall on kauka, stony ground, kutat, and they don't germinate. Sometimes the seeds fall on really fertile soil and they germinate. Sometimes they take time to germinate. They form strong roots and then they germinate. So sometimes, you know, whatever you say, you leave it out there. Those who catch it will catch it. Now, before I give Tikasab Upunti, I want to talk about, somebody mentioned Umkomboti there in the comment. Please listen carefully. I'm going to share something here. The word is o, which makes sense because as children, we used to call Umkomboti. It's o. We thought Tina is just a shortening of Umkomboti. Is it o? The word is o. O means blood or blood red, or something that is reminiscent of the color of blood, red. If you go to Kunkia once again, I know in Kwemana you find Kaub or Kaub for blood. Ne? Now, bear with me here a little bit. Kaub for blood in Kwemana is Itobo. Itobo in isiZulu. Itobo in isiXhosa or Itobelo. But the word is tobo, that's blood. That's why also a woman who has just gotten married is known as umtobokazi. Right? Hayi icobela hayibo. Uyicobela kudala into yaziwayo leyo akho nto itheni apha. Hayibo. Umtshakazi kwaZulu bathi ngumcobokazi or umlobokazi or umlobokazana, which gives us the word umolokazana. So lobo and cobo, in fact, the word lobola has a form ukucoboka or ukucobola is that word ukulobola. So Tob is the word for blood, but Tob is connected to another form, which is tombo. Tobo is connected to the word tombo. Itombo is the blood, or something that is red like blood. Now in Eastern Cape, there's a place called Tombo there, not far from Umzimvubu. There's a place called Tombo there. When you say Tombo, you must know you mean blood. Now, it connects to another word, Intombela, which also means red like blood, once again. But all of these connect to another word, Ingombo, in isiXhosa. So, red cows sometimes are known as Ingombo or Ingombokazi. If it's a haifa female, Ngombokazi. That Ngombo, Ntombo, or Ntombela, Tombo, Tobo, it's all connected, goes back to Kombo, which you find in Umkomboti. Now think about the grain you use to make Umkomboti. It's the red grain. The name Umkomboti means the red thing or the red liquid. Because Ukombo is red, reddish color. Reddish color. You understand? That is literally it because of the red sorghum that we use to make it. Now, obviously, there are many other forms of beverages. There's one beverage I know, ipombe, an old beverage known as ipombe. Interestingly, the former president of Tanzania, Magufuli Pombe, which means alcohol. There's another beverage I know, Kilika, the mead we make with the honey. And in fact, in Kwemana, Tabakhiris is the name for wine, red wine. Anyway, so Nkomboti, therefore, the word kombo has the same meaning as the word tombo. It's red, something red. And you look at or something that has a muddy, muddy color. This is not me making it up, guys. Ne? You can go and look it up. There's a dictionary by Villegas. Villegas, a good dictionary. He explains it as well. Both the word mkobo and the word ikombo. Ikombo. Even in isiXhosa, the dictionary, all dictionary, they explained inkombokazi, ikombo. So these words actually mean my battery. These words really mean the reddish or the red one. Now, that word ko, you find it in another word for a lady who has gone through the menstrual cycle. Now, in Kwinkia, when we talk about women, we put the de suffix. Sometimes it's for pluralization, sometimes for feminization. So it's kode. It means the menstruation, or a woman who has gone through menstruation. They are called kode. In Sindebele, here in South Africa, I remember when I was in university, I was living with the two Ndebele ladies. They were always talking about ikude, siyakude, until I realized, oh, ikude, it's intonjane. Intonjane, tombo, blood. Kode, kude, ko, blood. Both these things mean people who have gone through the menstrual cycle. Ko and to. To, intombel, intombi, intonjane. Ko, kode, ikude. That's where the word kude comes from. It comes from the blood. Now, think about it. Ku also means the people. In fact, when you talk about womenhood or women as a plural, as a collective, so-called San women, you call them kude. That's what you call them. You call them kude, the so-called San women themselves. And think about what happens in the female initiation process. The girl is being welcomed into womanhood. Just like the male initiation process, the boy is being welcomed into manhood. Ufikele sidodeni, ufikele esifazini. So ungena eqhudeni. Qude, literally the so-called San women. Now think about, they are using the word qude. It literally explains who or the origin of this thing in and of itself. In fact, let's take it further. In Kho, they also have the word kom ke. You know what kom means? The initiation of males. Kom. Komeng. Engomeni. Ngomeni. Komeng. Koma. The male initiation. On the other side of Kwemana, they say dorob. In fact, if you go to Kuntia, they say door for a man. If you know, you know. They say door when they refer to a man. We eat door. Yeah? We eat door. And that word, the Kunkia, our Kui ancestors, literally break it up. They break it up. Door is to cut. That's all I have to say. So I wanted to just add on that after the brother Urua. Now I'm gonna give Ukunta because I can see my battery is giving me troubles here. Ngena Kunta, Tochubeko.
Nkosi Mkhuluwa, inkosi Mfene, inkosi Jambase, nomkhuluwa. Andizohlala nethuba elide. Firstly, what you just explained about door. If you had to cut in engqondweni, I'm not gonna say much as well. Those who understand will fully understand. Like, oh yes, now it makes sense. Uyayibo? Inkosi ke mkhuluwa ngaloo nto. Bakhuluwa bam, I just want to say I'm grateful for meeting both of you, and I don't care who says what to both of you. I've been following you for quite some time now, and I know for a fact everything that you are saying is always making sense. Umkulua, you're not lying, Umkulua. Hey, they've been after him for years. Hey, Babtukil Umkulua. Oh, and he's not giving up because it's something that is in you. You're telling the truth about us. There's no lies here. There's no propaganda being created here. And also, the problem with us, I think we've been sleeping and relaxing because some of us, you know who you are, but yet you never thought of explaining it too much. But I think it's the high time now we research deeper to know who we are, because even the things that we think we know, they are not enough. And then, so that when you are being attacked by such individuals whom you know that are here to make sure Baba's divider, you are ready to answer them. You are ready to tell them who you are by all means. I am looking back now while I'm having while you're having this conversation of traveling and all that. There was a moment I was in Kimberley, but I was still young at that time. And guess what happens? I get to meet the so-called Gap Bushmen, because they are not Bushmen, they are not Khoi, they are not Khoisan. And I was like, oh my goodness, mesmerized to meet my people. And they spoke the language, but I didn't know what they were saying. I was just trying to sell something. I was a salesperson at that time. Within that moment, imagine Kimberley, how far Kimberley is from the Eastern Cape. Haibo, some men and women, but is cover. Haibo, what is going on here? And they speak isiXhosa. And I'm like, what is this? Is now showing and proving to the fact that Umkulua, what he said, we think we are just originally from one place. We are not. You need to research yourself and go around. You'll find that you are part of the corners of the southern side of Africa. So it's important that we get to learn and know that as well. Makulu,
Wow.
another thing I'm gonna beg you on, Yabo, because now I'm having that memory, but now because I didn't record it, and unfortunately that time phones were not 100% or well developed as these ones. Even the little place that you go to, get that audio, get that video, record it, man. Keep it for the future, because we're gonna need this in the future. Because these people, I know they're gonna say, we want proof. It's not even for them sometimes, it's for even the generation that is coming to see a few of this proof. I was saying on air last week, telling them that, do you know this so-called information that is always just being shown and being promoted of the Western Cape? That's where the people, the original people are from in South Africa. I'm like, do you know that they are not saying anything about the caves that are in the Eastern Cape, the caves that are in the Free State, the caves that are in KZN, caves in Lip? These caves are found everywhere. And yet, the only caves that are mostly promoted, it's only in the Western Cape. Ask yourself, what is that? It's propaganda. It's trying to make sure that if something is happening politically, they win using these people. After winning using these people are not the majority. They are a minority. If we get to be pushed away, they get to take over from them. And again, it's back to square one, colonization. So these are the plans that these people are having in reality. So I'm very grateful for like everything that you are doing for us, opening our minds and always just being there and interested and happy to do it each and every day, whereas there's nothing much that you are getting. And also, I'm feeling we should be, as people who are really into this thing, trying by all means as well to invest and help out these individuals abakhulu abasinceda each and every day. At least, even if it's something small, even if it's a backup pad or whatever, that can help out in everything that they have to do, the information that they have to get, the traveling, or even the tiny airtime that they're gonna use to buy and use as data for us to watch them here. Because it's very important that we also just show that we have that interest. And I appreciate you, Bakulwabam. I appreciate you, both of you, for each and every day you are making sure you're doing this. Because sometimes these people, I watch what they say to you, and I think I'm like, hey, I'm thinking it might lead you to saying, I give up, this is nonsense. But you never. So, Tamaku Mkuluwa Ndiyabulela. I'm not going to be long. I'm not going to be long.
Kamago Kunda. Kamago Mdanomhle. Thank you very much, my brother. You guys have heard it. You must support us. Send those monies, eh? Send those monies. These people were trying to. I mean, it's not even about fighting certain people, but to be able to travel and all that, we need funding, guys. We know we're not rich, eh? Mara, come on. There are politicians here in the thing, in the live. I know you guys. You are watching. You ANC people, release the funds, Baba. Release the funds to myself and Urua. We'll make things happen. You'll see wonders. Did you know that the most cave dense province in the whole of Southern Africa, not just South Africa, the place with the majority of the caves where people lived, that is actually so-called Eastern Cape? There are a lot of shelters in Lesotho, Drakensberg, KZN, many shelters. I know them by name, but the most out of all the places in the whole of Southern Africa, Angola, Zambia, Malawi, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Mozambique, Lesotho, Eswatini, South Africa, out of 10 countries, Eastern Cape has the most caves. That little province. That should tell you then what my brother Kulwa Kausep was saying about people of South Africa and their laziness towards investing in their own story. Because tell me why people from Engcobo do not go to the caves that are in Engcobo. It's a plethora of them with beautiful paintings and stories. They don't even wonder why those places are called what they are called, why the villages they live in are called what they are called. I was talking to an elder, and he asked me some names, where he stays, where his grandmother come from. I told him all the meanings in Kwinkia. Yeah, he was shocked. He's like, actually, you are telling the truth. Because everything you're saying, the meaning of the words, that's exactly that place. Some of the places, the word means sharp stones. He's like, no, all the stones are sharp there. And then I tell him that, there's a word in Ghana that means to bry something in the fire, or to burn it with the sun. It's kanaba. The old man lost his mind. He's like, that's the word my mother used. When she's hanging the clothes outside, she never used to say, ukoneka. She always used to say, kanaba. No, the kanaba impahla. You see, there's siyavuya there, utu chanaba. There you go. You see, they've codified it. Chanaba. There you go. Oh! Khulugalele zwathini lasemafeneni madoda. Sithi tsi! Chocho nibekho. Chocho nibekho. I want to touch on one last thing because my battery is dying. I want to touch on one last thing that Tik I Gasab, Tik I Kakub, Kacheseb. I want to touch on what he mentioned about Tiko and the danger of limiting, interpretation to your own little bubble. That's another thing that gets us indigenous descendants to be misled a lot of the times. When you think, no, here in KZN, we use this word for this in my village, therefore everyone else is wrong. That's a very small mind. Just because in your little community you view the interpretation of Tiko as an ancient shaman, that's one characteristic that you guys are focused on. There are other characteristics. And I want you guys to listen, even you, Tikai Kasab. There's something I want to share. You see, when I was young, I was told a story about a bull who had power to control all the other cattle. All the other cattle. This bull was called Dulube. Now, if you go to Tram, you know the word duru in Tram, duru means to not be able to walk like someone who has one leg. You know that whole interpretation of tiqo, meaning the one-legged one or the limping one. Tiqwab, painful knee. The name Dulube actually means that. You go to Tram, you find Duru. It means to walk on one leg. So the name Duru or Dulube and the name Tiqwabe, in that interpretation, ukuqhuka, yes, ukuqhwalela, ukujingxela. In that interpretation, the name Dulube and Tiqwab mean the same thing. And I like this because Dulube was a bull, but this bull had power. It controlled the other bulls. So in this story that my elders told me, this other boy, he was left alone. Yes, it connects to the story of Mlenze Munye and Lowe and Matsieng. And it connects back to that cave site. That cave site there in Botswana, in Kakakos, where there's a big footprint of 1 foot. 1 foot, that big footprint of 1 foot is also why we have so many mythologies of one leg and all that. Yes, Dulube was that bull. You go to Tam, you find the word Duru. It means the one who limps. So Durube, the one who limps, basically could shapeshift. And he was a bull that could control other bulls. Now, a bull, remember, also is what? A king. Inkunzi is a king. Dulube now, on this other day, is with this other boy. And they meet monsters called Gongong. Literally, Gongong means deep, deep hole. Those who go to the deep, deep hole. Because Ukuti Gong in its Xhosa is to, to plunge. Now, Gong is even worse. It's an intense meaning. Those who plunge deep. This is the exact same one you find amongst the Khwe and the Nama that talk about Gong Arib, or Gong Arib, those who plunge deep into the hole. Do you realize that it's the same story that the Nama are telling, the same story that I was told as well? And also one of the people in the comments, Uliema, is also confirming he was told the same story. Dulube was killed. Yes, it's Haiseb. It's Haiseb. Yes. And I'm going there because in some of the clans in Eastern Cape, they invoke a name called Hebebe, which is Haibeb, another form of Haiseb. So this Haiseb was also this kind of king, but also shaman, but also like he could open the waters. And Dulube did the exact same thing because Amakongongo killed Dulube. They even ate him up. But the boy managed to sing for Dulube. Remember, the reason why he's called Haiseb by the Nama is because he used to make music by the bushes. Hey is the bush. Hey is the bush. Haiseb, the one who's by the bushes. So he used to make music by the bushes. That's why in Somi, for Dulube to do anything, the boy had to sing for him. So Dulube, when the Amakongongo want to take the cows, Dulube doesn't want to move. Hey, Akule, Dulube, Kawabe, Dulube, Awanasia Bulawa, Dulube, Gamakongongo, Dulube. Oh, and Dulube will move. And they killed Dulube, but Dulube resurrected. And I think that was the gist of that story. I think the gist of that story is the story of death and life and resurrection. Because even when you listen to the Nama or the Khwe telling the story, it said kind of like the same thing. Because in that story, Haiseb plunges into the hole, but then he comes back up, some of the accounts, and he overcomes death. Same thing with Dulube. Dulube dies and Dulube resurrects, and then Dulube goes and saves the other cows. But to save the other cows, he opens a river or a body of water so that the other cows can pass. Once the other cows pass, the water comes back and closes up for those who are following, for the Gongong. Same thing with Haiseb. Haiseb calls out to Gamab, the water being Gamab. Gamab opens up the sea or the lake of water. Then the enemies come and then they don't know how they sink. I'm telling this story on people so that you can draw the parallels. So I wanted to just add on what my brother Qaqa said about the various interpretations of words, tweet up, and all that. There is that aspect of a shaman, an ancient king who could die and resurrect. That's also what is linked to Haiti Habib being the heap of stones, the lying place of Habib, because it's believed that when he died, he was buried and then they put stones on top of him. And this is what we call Isivivan, which we also put another stone when we pass Isivivan. We put a stone for good luck to protect Habib's body so that the wrongdoers can't take his body and do magic on his body. So there are many interpretations. I also touch on the interpretation of Tweekwab as well in reference to Amata, the Lord, the chief father of all, the first one who was there. That especially Nele, he aligned with that interpretation. Nele. Remember now, Nele grew up amongst the Khonakwa or the Khonakwa because his mother was Gunukwa. Nele himself was Nama because he was Kwe. Nele was Kwe. His father was Twecha, but his father died. So his mother raised him amongst the Gunukwa. So he was Twecha one side, Kacha, and Gunukwa the other side. So his interpretation, Nele, maybe reflects the interpretation of the Gunukwa because he says, Tiko, Amata, Tai. He told people to go to the Cove Rock in what they call Gombo now. You know, go, 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 go. In Kora, go means to thunder. Go or go, go. Now, some of the Kora suffixes, sometimes it can be a B, gob, or a P, gob. Depends on the dialect of Kora, I guess. So, gob, gombo, the thundering place. And Nele told people to go there, to stand on one leg and shout, Die! Now I told you, Die, once again. Kunkia, it means mhlegazi, mhlegazi. It's Kai when it's not codified. It's Kai. Now, that's another interpretation. I've also touched on the interpretation of Tikwab in reference to the red sun, the red rising sun, the red dawn. Umsobo. Twi, Kwab, the red rising one, as the dwelling place of Utikwab, the throne of Utikwab, manifested in the daily rising of the sun. Now, you think these stories don't have anything to do with each other? They do, because Dulube, Haiseb, and the sun have something in common. They rise, they set, and rise again. The sun sets and rises. It dies, it wakes up. It dies, it wakes up. Same thing with Dulube. Dulube dies, Dulube wakes up. Haiseb dies, Haiseb wakes up. So these are just mysteries of the ancients. Same thing with the moon. You know, as Xhosa we have a saying, mntanam ungumafa evuka njengenyanga. Someone who's on and off, they're like, ungumafa evuka njengenyanga. Because the moon is also, we literally say, when the moon is dead, sithi inyanga ifile, it's the end of the month. When the moon reappears, it's the beginning of the month. You understand? So it goes back to that story, the moon and the sun and the stars as the children. Oyi bafazi bensiki zetshelo nephaza mnithabatha isidoda ngoba ehlanyelwa ngumfazi. Awu, sibankuluka yethu untaba kahili siqa somile zona zintshaba madoda. Xotha unyelezi maphanga unqake nxa sinuxuxu qhamuke lelo bephambili phosa tyona thunga lamazuzweni. Ugwadela umqwetho uhebebe bantu bakulomama amadoda abo. Bantu bakulomama abo. Amagu, my battery is dying. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can catch the rest of the live on my TikTok channel, Sandile Tugane. Follow me, inbox if you need anything. Inbox Kasab if you need anything. Inbox Kasab Kuntaseb if you need anything. Thank you very much. See you again another live. Amagu, bye bye.